After our parents passed away unexpectedly, our uncle and aunt intended to adopt my sister and me. My sister chose our billionaire uncle first, while I went back to the countryside with our aunt. Later, our uncle married my sister off to a reclusive, powerful figure in the capital. Unable to bear the loneliness, she had an affair and was ultimately imprisoned and killed by her husband. As for me, I accidentally saved a young tycoon who had lost his memory and eventually became a wealthy society wife. The day I went to see my sister, she pushed me off the high rise. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my aunt and uncle came to adopt us. With tears in her eyes, my sister rushed to my aunt, pleading, "Auntie, I want to live with you." I just smiled. "You were offered a path to heaven but refused it. And now you're barging straight through the gates of hell." 1. After our parents passed away, my sister Qingjing and I were left orphaned. Our aunt and uncle arrived immediately. After discussing it, they offered to take us in, each adopting one of us sisters. Qingjing rushed to our aunt without a second thought, her eyes brimming with irrepressible excitement. "Auntie, I want to live with you." Grandma paused for a moment, her tone coaxing. "Xiao Jing, if you go with your aunt, you'll have to move back to our hometown with us. You need to be sure about this." Qingjing had always been sweet-tongued, adept at charming his parents and elders. She was always the most cherished one in the family, both before and after my parents passed away. It wasn't that Grandma didn't want to keep her close, she just wanted her to have a better life. If Qingjing chose her billionaire uncle, she would surely remember Grandma's affection and send some money back home. But Qingjing didn't do as Grandma hoped. Instead, she linked arms affectionately with her aunt and spoke decisively. "Grandma, I want to stay with you and Auntie." Auntie's face immediately lit up with a smile. "All right, that settles it, Mom. If Xiao Jing wants to stay, we should let her. Just because I've left the city life and come back to the countryside doesn't mean I can't take good care of Xiao Jing, you know." After a moment's thought, Grandma agreed. Once the three of them had settled on the plan, they held hands and shared some heartfelt words, leaving me naturally on the sidelines. I paid them no mind and walked straight over to my uncle. "Uncle, I'm going with you." My uncle finally finished his call, glanced at me sideways, and spoke with curt finality. "All right, go pack your things, we're leaving now." Hearing the commotion, Qingjing looked at me with a smile crinkling the corners of his eyes. "Little cousin, your uncle is the richest man in the country. I'm giving you this golden opportunity. Don't you think you owe me a thank you?" Her uncle stopped in his tracks and glanced at her. "The choice is yours. It's not a matter of me letting you. If you're willing, I can take you with me." Qingjing's voice faltered, and she quickly hid behind her aunt. "No, uncle, you and aunt already agreed to take one child each. There's no need to break your arrangement for my sake." "Well, there you have it." Qingjing's face stiffened for a moment, and he quickly covered his embarrassment with an awkward, ingratiating smile. Before leaving, she gave me a light hug and deliberately leaned in to whisper in my ear, her tone full of smug satisfaction. "Well, little sister, I wish you nothing but a meteoric rise to the top, then the crown prince is mine." Her tone was far from sincere, the shrewd calculation in her eyes completely unconcealed. No wonder our uncle treated her so poorly. With a light chuckle, I followed my uncle into the limited edition business van. It seems both Qingjing and I have been reborn, but surely she doesn't actually believe she chose a shortcut, and not a one-way ticket to the underworld. 2. In her past life, Qingjing chose to leave with her billionaire uncle without a moment's hesitation, unable to bear the thought of me being left behind in the countryside. My uncle made it clear he was willing to adopt both of us, but my elder sister spoke up first. Seizing the initiative, "Uncle, let my younger sister go with our aunt. It's hard for Auntie to take care of Grandma all by herself. An extra pair of hands would be a great help. Besides, if your sister leaves, your grandmother won't have anyone to keep her company. She'd be heartbroken." Grandmother was so moved that she kept wiping away her tears. "Don't you worry, Xiao Jing. Having your sister here with me is more than enough. You focus on going with your uncle and don't fret about me. Your sister isn't the type to look down on your aunt or an old woman like me. We'll make sure to take good care of her. If I leave, it's because I'm a social climber, chasing status and wealth. If I stay, it's only because Qingjing pities my grandmother and aunt. They've backed me into a moral corner, leaving me no way out." Powerless to resist, I followed my aunt back to the countryside. My aunt was once a red-hot celebrity in the entertainment industry, but she suddenly and unexpectedly retired from the spotlight and retreated to her hometown without any warning. After returning home, she began posting about her daily life post-retirement on Douyin. She taught me skincare, fitness, dancing, and live streaming, single-handedly propelling me to become a million-follower influencer. Countless fans and casual observers alike have praised my aunt as a breath of fresh air in the entertainment world. She chose to step away at the peak of her aunt's fame, pivoting to start from scratch in a completely new field, of course, that included people praising me as the next Cheng Wan, saying I'd be a top-tier star if I pursued the celebrity path, after I unintentionally saved the amnesiac young master and cared for him meticulously for a year. He developed feelings for me. He took my aunt and me to the capital city, asking me to be his wife. Netizens said I hit the jackpot, catapulting me straight to the top of the world. Cheng Jing had watched for years as netizens showered me with praise. Now that I'm marrying the crown prince, her jealousy has driven her to the brink of madness. It's no wonder, really, her life is far from good. In fact, it's downright miserable. Having never lived as a lady of the house, she naturally doesn't understand that heavy is the head that wears the crown. After moving in with her billionaire uncle, Cheng Jing's life became a monotonous routine that stretched on for years. Her social etiquette was strictly regulated, her appearance required constant vigilance, and her taste and worldview were in desperate need of refinement. This was actually a scaled-back version of her improvement plan, implemented only after her uncle realized she had no aptitude for academic studies or cultivated hobbies. Yet, all of this was more than enough to drive Cheng Jing up the wall. She simply couldn't stand the fact that, even after becoming a wealthy heiress, she was still being controlled in every single aspect of her life, so she rebelled, getting into early relationships, smoking, and doing all sorts of outrageous things. It wasn't until Cheng Jing's bullying of a female classmate was exposed by the media, leading to her expulsion, that her uncle was completely and utterly disappointed in her. Her uncle shipped Cheng Jing off abroad, with the sole hope that she could at least manage to scrape by and get a diploma. To everyone's surprise, Cheng Jing didn't get her diploma and partied even harder abroad, coinciding with her uncle's company running into trouble. He summoned her back home to marry the Buddha of the capital's elite circle, in a bid to stabilize the business. Unexpectedly, even after marriage, Cheng Jing didn't rein herself in at all. She had affairs, kept mistresses, you name it. It wasn't until she was imprisoned in the basement by the capital's Buddha and overheard the servants outside discussing my grand wedding that jealousy consumed her completely. When I heard she was imprisoned, I came to save her out of our past affection. I never expected Cheng Jing to push me off the high rise. Cheng Luo, stop pretending. If I can't have wealth and glory, neither will you. Cheng Jing will never know the vile, disgusting things behind the wealth and glory I've obtained. But it's fine, she'll find out soon enough. 3. My mother married my father, cutting all ties with her own family at any cost to do so. Because of that, my impression of my uncle is frozen in time, him urging my mother to go back home every holiday, his voice always cold. But my uncle wasn't as strict as I had imagined. He took me straight back to the Fu family home, and my grandmother's eyes welled up with tears the moment she saw my face. You can stay here without a worry. No one would dare to bully you, and indeed, no one ever did. When my aunt learned I was coming, she prepared my room overnight and gave me a hug the moment she saw me. It's as if heaven knew your uncle and I had no children of our own, and sent you to us. Although my uncle didn't say it outright, he gathered a group of my cousins to look after me. Those cousins were quite curious about me, but their innate good manners kept them from doing anything improper. It was only after spending time with me that they gradually warmed up and became familiar. I settled into life at the Fu residence. My uncle enrolled me in an international primary school and arranged a series of supplementary tutoring sessions for me as well. If there are any subjects you particularly like or dislike, you must tell me. We can always try a different approach. Just remember, the reason I want you to take these classes isn't to force you to win any prizes. I nodded, my expression solemn. I understood perfectly. Kids from wealthy families have a lot of room for trial and error, yet they still throw themselves into it with gusto. Put simply, a broad perspective isn't easily cultivated, and excellence isn't achieved overnight. What truly matters is the entire journey. Yet, in her past life, Cheng Jing precisely lacked this very journey, which is why she couldn't see things clearly. And I need this more than anything. I will study, I will grow stronger. I will become someone who cannot be controlled. I threw myself into a frenzy of learning, tried to make friends within the circle, and gradually built my own network. The reviews of me within the circle were surprisingly positive, courteous, approachable, and brilliantly talented. Uncle said, if you feel I'm being too strict with you, you can say so directly. The Fu family is more than capable of providing for you just fine. I shook my head in refusal. Not at all, uncle. If it weren't for the daily guidance from you and aunt, how could I have achieved what I have today? Holding my newly won trophy, my eyes shone with unconcealable pride. Uncle was quite pleased. Now that's more like it. That's how a member of the Fu family should act. Compared to my grueling schedule of only 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night, Cheng Jing had it easy, living a life of comfort. After graduating from a junior college, Aunt became a star, in her eyes. Studying was an optional pursuit. She dragged Cheng Jing into filming videos with her every day, and the two of them were constantly trending on short video platforms. Convinced that he was destined to befriend the crown prince of the industry, Cheng Jing even began neglecting his studies. By the time she entered a vocational high school, she had already become an online influencer with millions of followers. Each of her videos racked up hundreds of thousands of views. And a single sponsored post could earn her what an average person makes in several months. But Cheng Jing was restless, because she wasn't sure when her past self had first met the crown prince. She didn't dare let her guard down for a moment. She didn't move to the capital, nor did she attend her classes, instead spending her days wandering around her hometown. Yet, the amnesiac crown prince was nowhere to be found. To make matters even more surreal, a short video clip about me suddenly went viral, trending on the platform and racking up tens of millions of views. For, I represented my country in an international physics competition and clinched the championship title. The trending post featured a photo of my teammates and me, draped in our national flag and holding the trophy aloft. My exceptional looks, family background, and status as the youngest in the team were exposed. And I was singled out for a round of praise. Netizens dug up my resume, and words of admiration kept pouring in. With such a privileged background and yet so hardworking, she completely outshines everyone. We are gathered here today to celebrate Ms. Fu Luo's success in physics. I know her, she's my senior from university, and she's honestly the absolute best. Don't even get me started. Fu Luo and I run in the same circles, and my mom never stops nagging me to be more like her. She doesn't get it. If I were as amazing as Fu Luo, why would I even need to be a rich kid? Okay. Someone's trying a bit too hard to impress. Feeling one-upped, Cheng Jing quickly posted his latest video to show off all the awards he's won. It turned out those certificates were all worthless, and she panicked and deleted the video immediately, seizing the chance while my aunt called to congratulate me. Cheng Jing made a point of putting himself in my line of sight. Little sister, I never expected you to have an ace up your sleeve, even changing your surname. Did you win that award by riding on the Fu family's coattails just to make me jealous and regret my choice? How naive you are. Do you really think the Fu family likes you that much, that your uncle and aunt see you as their own daughter? Don't be naive. A married daughter is like spilled water, impossible to take back. Mom has been married to dad for so many years. And the Fu family never once showed up. Why would they genuinely like you now? They've long planned to treat you like a commodity to be traded away. Cheng Jing wore an expression of arrogant omniscience, as if everything was going exactly as she wished. I was idly scrolling through my phone when I noticed a new message in the WeChat friend request list. A soft chuckle escaped my lips. Hearing you talk like that, sis, it sounds like you're doing really well. Let me guess. Did you run into your Prince Charming? On the other end of the line, Cheng Jing paused for a moment, her haughty demeanor still firmly in place. Of course he'll be mine. The wealth and status are mine for the taking. I'm a top influencer making millions now, while you're just a parasite living off the Fu family's handouts. My life is better than yours now, and don't you dare think you'll ever catch up. Well then, sister, I do hope you get everything you wish for. I tapped my fingertip lightly and accepted Shen Yu's chat request. This was precisely the young master Cheng Jing had been pining for, the one who was about to lose his memory. When the time comes, you'd better not come begging for my help. Cheng Jing hung up the phone, her voice thick with anger. 5. The phone buzzed twice. Shen Yu had taken the initiative to send a message. I wasn't in a hurry to check it. Instead, I went to the study to find my uncle first. Last week, the financial strain that would plague the Fu family in their previous life was already beginning to show signs in the present. The veteran leaders who had come up with the Fu family had long been holding sinecures and shirking their duties, and their disloyalty was beginning to show. The accumulated problems and deep-seated issues within the company had my uncle completely overwhelmed. I took the initiative to approach my uncle. Uncle, I want to study finance. My uncle showed no surprise. His gaze fixed on me with a scrutinizing intensity. Are you sure about this? Even without studying finance, with your current accomplishments, you could still become a top performer in some field, or, to put it another way, what the Fu family is offering you now might just be a complete mess. I raised an eyebrow and spoke with a smile. Uncle, I want to study finance. My uncle's brow relaxed, and he handed me a document. After the competition, you could secure a direct admission spot. Alternatively, you could also apply to these top universities abroad. I raised an eyebrow. My uncle had clearly anticipated the choice I would make all along. As if he had read my mind, Uncle burst into hearty laughter. Fulua, you will only have truly mastered this when you can anticipate my thoughts. You still have a great deal to learn. Now, I informed Uncle of my final decision. Uncle was still smiling. Fulua, bringing you back to the Fu family was the best decision I've ever made in my life. You know, you're nothing like your mother, but you will undoubtedly be the finest child the Fu family has ever seen. Back in my room, I sent my application to Harvard. The attachment with my awards and achievements was nearly a gigabyte. It was only then that I turned my attention to the message Shinyu had sent me. This is Shinyu. Perhaps because he hadn't heard back from me for a while. Shinyu added another line. I really admire you. Would you like to be friends? I suddenly remembered the rumors about Shinyu and me from my past life online. He would forsake a kingdom for his beloved, willing to spend half his fortune just to marry me. The netizens were right, and yet they were wrong. In ancient terms, Shinyu was the legitimate eldest son of the Shin family. It would be natural for him to be treated like a crown prince. But there's a catch. It was his stepmother who spoiled him into becoming one. The stepmother didn't dote on her own son. Instead, she treated Shinyu with astonishing favor. Everyone said Shinyu was incredibly lucky to have such a stepmother. But the truth is, Shin's stepmother was playing a long game of spoiling him to ruin. She intended to utterly cripple Shinyu. And indeed, Shinyu was ruined. He became nothing but a frivolous, womanizing playboy, and a homosexual. It wasn't until Shin's father passed away in their previous life that the stepmother revealed her true ambitions, sending someone to kill Shinyu while he was carousing in a bar. Shinyu fled in a panic, running helter-skelter until he finally ended up in my hometown. I ran into him, and he seized the moment to pretend he had amnesia. That's when I found out the crown prince wasn't just gay, he was the bottom. Well, yeah, we ended up becoming besties. Now, he's at it again. Strutting around like a peacock, looking for new besties. Out of gratitude for how he saved me from misery in our past life, I gave him a few kind-hearted warnings. I have no idea if Shinyu believed me or not, but he did send me a whole string of baby and kissy face emojis. 6. The year I graduated early and returned to China, several major scandals broke out online. The Fu family company had a few moles who sold internal information, causing a break in their capital chain. This kind of stuff is too far removed from the average netizen's world, so it didn't gain much traction. What really blew up was another story. An influencer named Jingjing publicly revealed she's dating the crown prince, a wealthy heir. At a press conference, the Shin family stepmother tearfully declared that Shinyu had suffered enough and that she would bring him and Chengjing into the Shin family home. Chengjing and her aunt suddenly became the hottest figures in the capital. That's precisely why I saw her at an auction, which a friend in the circle had invited me to. Over the years, I've heard bits and pieces of news about her. For instance, she and her aunt would sometimes pop up on the trending lists of short video platforms. Auntie tried to help Chengjing transition into a star, but they kept hitting one roadblock after another. The two of them remained stuck in place as major influencers, unable to move forward. Through those less than a minute-long live stream clips, I confirmed that Chengjing had suffered the same ordeal I endured in my past life, beaten, abused, coerced, and locked in a cellar without food. The reason is none other than Chengjing not listening to her aunt, but I couldn't be bothered to get into the specifics. But now, I have all the time in the world to enjoy the spectacle of Chengjing making a fool of herself. Chengjing has no concept of restraint, clinging to Shinyu's arm. She barged straight into the private room and plopped herself down in my seat. Oh, Luo, you're finally back in the country. It's been so many years. You've really changed. You guys have no idea, do you? Luo is my own sister. Don't be fooled by how she looks now. She used to be so ugly and dim-witted. It's not even funny. She shot a glance at Shinyu beside her, and seeing he didn't react at all, she grew even more brazen with her words. Back in our hometown, Luo even used to run to the village entrance to play with sheep droppings. Luo, tell your big sister in secret. Which hospital did you go to? Who did you pull strings with? Chengjing gave me a playful wink, acting as if we were the closest of confidants. the expressions on everyone's faces turned rather grim, even though the Fu family was experiencing temporary cash flow issues. I was on good terms with them and had often helped them out, therefore, they didn't shy away from being friendly with me. In fact, they even reached out to me privately, offering their assistance. Out of nowhere, this so-called crown princess of the Beijing socialite circle shows up and immediately starts picking a fight with me. Any sister would be upset if she saw her own get treated unfairly. The hot-tempered Zhou Qi was the first to lose her cool, letting out a scornful snort. No wonder you're a top influencer, you must juggle conversations with several men a night to be this smooth. Showing up uninvited is one thing, but who the hell gave you the nerve to get all up in my face on my turf? 7. Qing Jing put on an affected act, covering her mouth with her hand and blinking her eyes at Shen Yu, looking utterly wronged. Did I say something wrong? I just heard things are pretty chaotic abroad, and I was worried about how my sister was doing, that's why I came. Was our visit too sudden? I scoffed, lifting my eyes with an air of indifference. Thanks for your concern. I may not have learned much abroad, but my ability to spot a fake has improved quite a bit. Qing Jing, did you come here to test my ability to spot a phony? Qing Jing's expression darkened. What's with the sarcasm? Fu Luo, I brought AU here out of goodwill to see you, not to be on the receiving end of your sharp tongue. I heard the Fu family's cash flow has completely dried up. And you're about to rely on a marriage alliance to get through this crisis, yet you still have the nerve to show up at an auction. You'd be better off figuring out how to please your future spouse. Qing Jing looked at me with a smug, chin-lifted arrogance. Zhou Qi clapped her hands sharply, cutting her off, and an auction attendant promptly entered the room. Go on, drag that little bitch out of here, get her mouth cleaned up and throw her out, so she doesn't ruin the mood for the other bidders. Qing Jing initially looked at Zhou Qi with disdain, yet not a single person spoke up in her defense, and the server remained with his arm outstretched, motioning for her to leave. In a panic, Qing Jing turned her gaze to Shen Yu. AU, look at them. Shen Yu gave a careless, helpless shrug with a lopsided grin. Honey, this isn't my shop. I don't get a say in how things are run here. You'll just have to put up with it for now, okay? A flicker of panic crossed Qing Jing's eyes, but she kept her back ramrod straight, refusing to budge from her spot. Zhou Qi snorted coldly. Drag her out by the hair. The server apologized and was about to act, but Qing Jing quickly stood up, feigning nonchalance as she spoke. AU, the private room is too stuffy. I'm going out to find Auntie and the others. Before leaving, Qing Jing even had the nerve to flip her hair and mock me with an air of composure. Fu Luo, go ahead and be a coward. Using others as your pawns, the day will come when that backfires on you. Waiter, could you please bring Miss Qing a few takeout bags? We wouldn't want her to lose her composure. I raised my voice, making sure Qing Jing could hear me. Her face went pale, and she left the private room in her high heels. She hurried to find her aunt, and the two of them rushed to curry favor with the Shen family's stepmother, who gave them the cold shoulder. The guests invited to the auction in the main hall saw the situation clearly and gathered in small groups, whispering amongst themselves. Starting tomorrow, Qing Jing is bound to become the laughingstock of the entire Beijing social circle. 8. The moment she left, Shen Yu immediately dropped the act and showed his true colors. Babe, is this girl really your full sister? You two share the same mother. The second she heard I was coming to see you, she latched onto me like a total airhead. And her aunt is always egging her on to throw herself at me. Has she even looked in a mirror, as if I'd ever be interested in someone like her? Well, that's something. I thought about Qing Jing's expression just then and couldn't help but laugh out loud. She's afraid you'll fall for me, terrified, actually, afraid her aunt would hit her, or lock her up. What I fear most is losing everything I've worked so hard to achieve and being sent back to square one. Ugh. Who else would my sweetheart like? That airhead she's with, Shen Yu yelled, and I chimed in with my own sarcastic remark. Oh, come on, if your darling hears that, she'll definitely get jealous. Zhou Qi was so angry he could only laugh. You're really taking this calmly. If I had a sister like her, she'd be the death of me. She's acting completely unhinged, taking advantage of you being out of the country to trash your reputation online. Luckily, it didn't gain much traction. The trending topic is already gone. Is that so? That idiot. I should have taught her a lesson. I heard she still wants to be a star. I'll make her a laughingstock. Shen Yu was absolutely furious. I quickly grabbed a piece of cake and stuffed it into his mouth, which finally calmed Shen Yu down. Enough about me. How's your stepmother? She hasn't caught on, has she? Shen Yu's face lit up with excitement as he spoke. Absolutely. My acting was top-notch. That old witch really bought the act. Thinks I'm a useless fool. She's already planning to change the will and put her own son in charge. She'll go to her grave never knowing it was all under our control the whole time. Ha ha ha. I nodded and said, good. After each taking a share of the jewels, the group began to disperse one by one. Shen Yu called out to stop me, expressing his gratitude with the utmost sincerity. Fu Luo, no matter what you face in the future, if you come to me, I will help you. 3 years ago, Shen Yu came to me, asking me to investigate his stepmother with a mix of skepticism and hope. His stepmother was brazen, making no effort to hide anything, so Shen Yu uncovered everything. After that, Shen Yu unilaterally declared me his bestie. On the surface, Shen Yu kept up his act as the simpleton to Chun, but behind the scenes, he began to plot. It started with weeding out dissent from within the Shen family. Then Shen Yu faked his death to expand his influence and swallow up his stepmother's power base. Before finally making a public reappearance by leveraging Cheng Jing, he forced his stepmother to take him back into the family home, leaving her with no choice but to start playing a desperate, high-stakes game. All of this was what I taught him. Step by step, based on the experiences from my past life, more than once, Shen Yu has told me earnestly, just as he is doing now, I truly can't thank you enough, Fu Luo. After being treated like a fool and played for a fool all these years, I never thought I'd meet someone who treats me with genuine sincerity. It was your sincerity that earned this same sincerity in return. I shook my head, but my thoughts drifted far away. 9. In my past life. My aunt began teaching me to dance provocatively when I was only 8 years old. I was too young to understand, just staring in confusion at those disgusting comments. Worried that school would interfere with my daily script filming, my aunt went ahead and had me take a leave of absence. I became an internet celebrity as I'd hoped, making a fortune for her, but my aunt wasn't satisfied with just that. She wants me to follow in her footsteps and break into the entertainment industry. But what I really want is to be at school, having fun and goofing around with my friends. That's what I told my aunt, but what I really meant was, I finally understood what those comments were getting at. They were harassing me with remarks like, feels so good, XXX for a night, and, gives you the thrill of bullying a kid, and so on. Before I could even get the words out, my aunt had already thrown me into the cellar. You're at the peak of your popularity right now. If you don't seize this opportunity, how are you going to survive later on? Get down there and think hard about what you've done. Don't come back up until you've figured it out. I stubbornly refused to give in, so my aunt refused to give me any food. The cellar hadn't been used in years. It reeked of decay, and a pack of rats were squealing and scurrying about. That night, I lay there wide-eyed, feeling as if countless rats were gnawing at my toes. Only after daybreak did a sliver of sunlight, as if granted out of pity, reach me through the vent. I broke down and sobbed. I won't study anymore, Auntie. I just can't do it. Hearing my cries, my aunt didn't open the cellar door. Instead, she left me down there for another whole night. In my aunt's own words, you little brat, you think your aunt is some pushover. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll think you can get away with anything. After that day, I ran a high fever for a week straight, but for the sake of making money. My aunt still insisted I join her live streams. I had once turned to my grandmother for help, but she would only play deaf and dumb. Oh dear, I'm old, and my ears don't work so well anymore. What was that? Cheng Luo, let me get your aunt to listen. That is, until I saved Shen Yu. My aunt knew him and was exceptionally attentive to him. Shen Yu initially wanted to run away, but later he discovered me, secretly reading by flashlight after signing off late at night. That was the only elementary school Chinese textbook I had left. Even after my aunt tore it up later, I carefully gathered the pieces and brought them with me to Beijing. Back then, Shen Yu lifted my blanket, slipped in, turned off my flashlight, and acted like he was pulling me into sleep. What are you doing? I was completely startled and immediately started kicking him with my feet. Shen Yu held me close, giggling softly. What are you so scared of? I think of you as a sister, okay? Don't squint at that old, tired story with your -500 vision. Come on, sis, what do you want to hear? I'll tell you. Thinking of this, I patted Shen Yu on the shoulder. You need to be confident. You're worth it. Shen Yu blushed a deep crimson from my praise, hugged me, and wiped his tears on me. Wah, honey, you're just too sweet. I love you so much. I feel like I could never live without you. The doctor. Not on the overpass. He's at the bar. A voice shouted hoarsely from behind. Shen Yu and I turned at the same time and saw the man whispered about in the capital's elite circles, the so-called Buddhist scion, the very same Buddhist scion of the capital, Pei Xian, whom everyone had been gossiping about lately as my intended match for a marriage alliance. Pei Xian's head and clothes were stained with blood, his gaze, dark and inscrutable, was fixed on me, and his voice was little more than a murmur. Perhaps it's for the best. Why do I suddenly feel this weird guilt? Like I'd been caught cheating by my husband. Before I could figure it out, Pei Xian pitched forward, and I hurriedly caught him. The person who had just been on the phone urging the doctor let out a sharp, piercing shriek. Young Master Pei, I think I've been set up for a scam. 10. I'm at the hospital, trying to decide whether or not to call the police. The man in the suit following Pei Xian hurried over to explain the situation. He's Pei Xian's assistant, Lin Sheng. The two of them were in a car accident on the expressway today while on a business trip. After that, despite being injured, Pei Xian insisted on finding out where I was and rushed over without a second thought. And that's the extent of what I know. I'm a bit baffled by the whole thing. Is this whole Buddha of the capital thing just a front to cover up the fact that Pei Xian is actually unhinged? But I just smiled and said it was fine. Shen Yu, standing beside me, spoke up for me. What? Is Pei Xian having one of his episodes and trying to drag my baby into it? If it weren't for the security cameras, people would probably be accusing my child of throwing the first punch. If you're sick, you should get treatment sooner rather than later. As I turned to leave, Lin Sheng took a hesitant step forward, as if he had something to say. Was there something else? I glanced at him, and he immediately shook his head again. Half an hour after I left, Pei Xian in the hospital room slowly came to. He took one look at Lin Sheng beside him and guessed what had happened. Miss Fu has already left, right? Pei Xian lowered his gaze, the emotions in his eyes going unnoticed. For him, being able to secure such an outcome was already more than enough. Fu Luo was given a new lease on life, with a promising future and a worthy companion by his side, so he would not have to repeat the mistakes of the past. Just being able to see each other one more time was already a blessing. After the auction concluded that evening, a slew of scandals were exposed about Qing Jing and Cheng Wan, who had long been trying to pivot into stardom. For instance, Qing Jing was found to have faked her academic credentials, despite only having a high school diploma. She purchased a college degree and falsely claimed to have graduated from a prestigious university. Another example involved academic fraud, where she was listed under a certain supervisor, who in turn was a student of a specific professor. Through covert collusion, Qing Jing managed to get her name on nearly 10 academic papers in a single year. Another example is that Qing Jing bullied classmates throughout elementary, middle, and high school, being a major internet celebrity with an aunt who was a former star. Teachers always took her side. Furthermore, Cheng Wan tormented Qing Jing from childhood, even going so far as to prick her with a needle just 2 days before Qing Jing was adopted. Once this information was exposed, it immediately caused a massive uproar online. Seriously, you're only just now seeing Qing Jing for who she really is. She's been dancing provocatively since she was a kid, never looked like a decent person. Forget Qing Jing, let's talk about her aunt, Cheng Wan. You don't actually believe she left the industry voluntarily, do you? What's the tea? What's the tea? I missed this gossip. That's old news. It was all the rage in our circles back then. Cheng Wan slept her way to a big shot, took his money, then tried to trap him with a pregnancy, got herself blacklisted. The aunt and niece woke up the next morning completely bewildered. Even buying an army of online trolls couldn't suppress the trending topics, and their attempts to post explanatory videos were blocked. Since Qing Jing was still publicly known as Shen Yu's girlfriend, Shen Yu got caught up in the fallout. The Shen Corporation stock took a hit as well. Some of Shen Yu's workplace rivals began to quietly suggest that the Shen family should cut ties with her. The two of them waited anxiously for the Shen family to return. However, when Shen Yu's stepmother returned, her attitude had actually softened. Shen Yu, for her part, acted as if nothing had happened and handed the wedding schedule to the group. It's nothing. It doesn't change how I feel about you. Shen's stepmother's eyes flickered. With a smile, she took Qing Jing's arm and began chattering away about this and that. The aunt and her nephew were both overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. Shen Yu looked at the group with a faint, ambiguous smile, then tapped on his phone to send me a message. Darling, come and see the show. 11. I followed my uncle into the Fu Corporation and, with swift and decisive action, brought the company back from the brink. My standing within Fu Corporation soared overnight. Through my persuasion, the company's funding chain gradually began to recover. The Fu family has now purged all disloyal elements, and the future looks bright. Of course, the option of an arranged marriage wasn't even considered by Uncle. Uncle said, even if the Fu family were driven to the brink, we would never take the path of marrying you off to a stranger just to be a wife confined to cooking and cleaning, to be free-spirited and unrestrained, not shackled by romantic entanglements. That is the person the Fu family wishes you to become. If you truly intend to abandon everything for a man, then I can only say I misjudged you. I laughed heartily. How could that be, Uncle? Cheng Jing from my past life was my finest example. She thought that by becoming Pei Xian's wife, she would gain so-called love and power, but she never imagined he didn't even spare her a glance. A woman who clings to a man like a daughter vine, even willing to abandon her dignity. How could she ever receive genuine love in return? After hearing this, Grandma was so overjoyed that she immediately passed down to me the bracelet she had worn her entire life. What a good child you are. You're truly the little lucky star of our Fu family. Uncle and Auntie were grinning from ear to ear. Luo is sharp. She planned ahead and cleaned house inside and out. Those old-timers were let go, and the problematic suppliers were thoroughly investigated too. The Fu group remains as glorious as ever. I'm happy because everyone else is happy. My cousins were growing more and more impressed with me, and they pulled me over to tell them about the fun things I'd encountered abroad. I shared a few amusing anecdotes that had everyone in stitches. However, one younger cousin frowned, thought for a moment, and then held her phone up in front of me. Luo, look, isn't that Sister Jing? Why is she yelling at you? I glanced at it and couldn't help but laugh to myself. In the video, Ching Jing had filmed the backs of me and Shen Yu as we talked in the auction hall lobby. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying as she vaguely insinuated that I was trying to get with Shen Yu. In the end, she accused me, her voice choked with tears. Little sister, I know you had a hard time at our uncle's house, but that wasn't my fault. You've lived in comfort at our uncle's for all these years, wanting for nothing, but I haven't. You've destroyed the career I worked so hard to build in an instant. I have no capital, no influence. You can't do this to me, Fu Luo. People finally pieced together my existence from fragmented memories, and upon investigation, discovered my background was so formidable. Netizens are spinning conspiracy theories again. Let's be real, Fu Luo has enjoyed the benefits of the Fu family for years, yet she's never once stepped up to help Ching Jing. My brother-in-law who works at Fu Corp told me things are really unstable there lately. He even got laid off. Fu Luo is clearly starting to look for a powerful backer. Fu Luo and I are from the same hometown. I muttered under my breath. She didn't even come back once when her own grandmother passed away. Jingjing and Cheng Wan have fought their way up from nothing. How can we let a couple of baseless rumors destroy her? I won't stand for it. Capitalizing on the surge in attention, Jingjing and Cheng Wan went live again, pulling in viewership that soared into the millions. Shen Yu was the first to message me, babe, the old witch has made her move. Whoa, Ching Jing's entire past has really been dug up. 12. The online abuse directed at me was overwhelming. So I was genuinely surprised when Lin Sheng reached out. Lin Sheng's voice was oddly hesitant. Miss Fu, I saw the trending topic online. Do you need any help? I raised an eyebrow. No, thank you. Oh, Miss Fu says no. Sorry to bother you, Miss Fu. Wait, thank young Master Pei for me. On the other end of the line, Lin Sheng suddenly became agitated. He thrust the phone right in front of Pei Xian, waving his finger animatedly. Young Master Pei, Miss Fu just said thank you. Pei Xian's expression remained impassive as he said, I heard, no need to make such a fuss. Lin Sheng glanced at the prayer beads Pei Xian had snapped, then deliberately looked away as if he hadn't seen a thing. March 18th, an auspicious day for weddings, marked the engagement of Shen Yu and Ching Jing. During this period, Shen Yu stopped holding back, driving his stepmother and her biological son into a corner with no way out. If she wanted to ruin Shen Yu, today was the perfect opportunity. Cheng Jing, as a major influencer, insisted on live streaming the wedding so that everyone could witness her happiness. Shen Yu, still playing the part of the doting partner, agreed without hesitation. The moment my uncle and I arrived at the ceremony hall, Shen Yu came over to greet us. Shen Yu and I had barely exchanged a few words when my aunt, spotting us, promptly swooped in and shooed him away. She turned and gave me a once-over, her eyes filled with undisguised contempt. Fu Luo, this is your sister's wedding, don't you dare pull any of your usual tricks here, behave yourself, and your sister and I might still acknowledge you. After a couple of half-hearted threats, my aunt beamed and went off to greet the other guests. My uncle patted my hand, completely dismissing her. Every time I see your sister and your aunt, I'm so thankful I adopted you. You can say that again. I had just picked up a small piece of cake and hadn't even taken a bite when I heard Pei Xian's voice. This cake is very sweet. You'll find it too rich if you eat it. I turned my head and saw Pei Xian speaking to Lin Sheng, his face cold and stern. Lin Sheng was holding a plate with the same kind of cake as the one in my hand. Lin Sheng wore an expression that looked like he was about to cry. After a moment's thought, I set the cake back down. Pei Xian picked up another plate and handed it to Lin Sheng. This one's just right. Lin Sheng shook his head vigorously and took a step back. Young Master Pei, I'm full. Perhaps you could ask Miss Fu. Only then did Pei Xian notice me, turning slightly to give me a nod. Long time no see, Fu Luo. Lin Sheng can't finish this. Do you want it? It'll make you happy. My focus wasn't on whether it would make me happy or not, but on the fact that Pei Xian actually shares the same peculiar taste as Shen Yu. I gave the two of them a meaningful look and chose not to disturb. After I left, Pei Xian stared at the little cake in front of him without a word. Lin Sheng wore an expression of profound bitterness and resentment. Young Master Pei, if you keep chasing your wife like this, Miss Fu will be holding her third child before you even catch up. Pei Xian set down the cupcake, appearing utterly indifferent. None of your business. 13. Cheng Jing directed the servants holding the live streaming equipment while showing off her gown. This gown was custom-made for me by a world-renowned designer, commissioned by AU. It's one of a kind. Thank you all for your concern. AU loves me very much now, and will be walking down the aisle soon. The camera panned to the scene of me talking with Pei Xian, and everyone could clearly see the disappointment on his face. Cheng Jing's face stiffened. Suppressing his emotions, he instructed the staff to first show everyone around the venue. She whirled around and charged up to me, her tone full of aggression. Fu Luo, you again? What do you want? You're like a ghost that just won't leave me alone. First you go after Shen Yu, and now you're trying to seduce Pei Xian too. Do you really think you're that irresistible? My interest was piqued. I crossed my arms and watched her. Well, thank you for the compliment. My charm truly knows no bounds. A mere crook of my finger, and the men you could never have come running. Oh dear, what a predicament. Cheng Jing's chest heaved with anger. Then, as a thought occurred to her, a cold smirk played on her lips. Fine, you leave me no choice. Fu Luo, once this engagement party is over, I'll be the crown princess of the capital's elite circle, and nobody like you will be completely at my mercy. Oh, I'm so scared. Whatever shall I do? I guess I'll just have to sit back and watch the show. Fuming with rage, Cheng Jing stormed off in her high heels. As the engagement banquet commenced, a group of police officers suddenly rushed into the hall. A slow, knowing smile spread across the stepmother's lips. Her plan had succeeded, and she was utterly delighted. Shen Yu raised a hand to halt the proceedings and politely inquired of the officer what the matter was. Upon seeing him, the officer respectfully offered an apology. We are here on official business to apprehend Lin Fei, Shen Yuan, Cheng Jing, Cheng Wan, and their associates. The smile on the stepmother's face froze instantly. Shen Yu maintained a polite smile. These are all members of my family. May I ask what they are accused of? Drug smuggling. Without another word, the police moved to take the group away. Shen's stepmother staggered backward a few steps, her face and that of her biological son filled with terror. Impossible, impossible. How can this be? It was Shen Yu who was using drugs. You should be arresting him. Is this what you're talking about? I was wondering why Cheng Jing had been sneaking around putting things in my teacup lately. Shen Yu, as if performing a magic trick, produced a bag of crystalline substance from his pocket and handed it to the police officer. Officer, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm willing to go to the station with you for a check. Cheng Jing and Cheng Wan stood frozen on the spot, completely stunned. Is that drugs? The only answer they received was the cold clink of handcuffs. The crowd and the live stream viewers went absolutely wild. Holy shit, is this really how the elite fight for power? It even involves drugs. How could Cheng Jing and Cheng Wan not know? Are they idiots? The engagement party turned into a prison scene right on the spot. How thrilling. 14. Shen Yu winked at me, and then was taken away for inspection again. I helped him handle the situation on site. The other sisters also helped me keep things under control. Pei Xian looked as if he had something to say, but in the end, he remained silent. The evidence against Shen Yu's stepmother and her biological son for drug trafficking is irrefutable. They can no longer harm Xinyu. Cheng Jing and Cheng Wan were released because they insisted they knew nothing. The two of them went to Xinyu to plead for mercy. He gave a careless, roguish laugh, but it carried a chill. "Ah, don't come to me. The fact that I haven't killed you both already is me being a law-abiding citizen." "Alright, how about this? I'll play a little game with the two of you. You have 2 days. If you can find yourselves a powerful backer, we'll consider the matter settled. If not, you'll just have to keep me entertained." The two of them, trembling from head to toe and scared out of their wits, scurried over to the Fu residence. Cheng Jing was unwilling to humble himself before me, so he only went to his uncle. "Uncle, I need your help. My mother always told me when she was alive, that you would always help her with anything she needed. I know you still care for me, uncle. You're still willing to help me, aren't you?" My uncle called me out with a single phone call, tilting his head to look at Cheng Jing. "Luo Luo, your sister has come to me for help. As the Fu family heir, the decision is yours to make." A flicker of anticipation crossed Cheng Jing's face. And I drove my foot straight into her chest. "My dear sister, the one who climbed up by stepping on me, Cheng Jing, you've got some nerve." I leaned down, taking in every detail of her terror. "Cheng Jing, do you regret choosing to side with Auntie? It's all your fault. Fu Luo, I'm sure you tampered with something." I let out a soft, derisive laugh. "Do you know why, all these years, your aunt would rather push you into the entertainment industry than set foot in it herself? Because, you see, you're the product she meticulously groomed, all ready to be sold off." I threw her own words right back at her. I think she gets the message now. With no other options, Cheng Wan naturally turned her attention to Cheng Jing. The aunt sold Cheng Jing to a property developer, demanding that he ensure her safe departure from the capital. The boss readily agreed and proceeded to enjoy himself for the night. The next day, the boss pretended to be deaf and mute. "What, Cheng Wan, didn't you bring your niece here to butter me up? And now you're making other demands." "Making demands isn't part of the deal at this price." The aunt made a snap decision, bought a ticket, and prepared to leave. But Cheng Jing grabbed her arm to stop her. In the heat of the argument, Cheng Jing dragged his aunt with him as they plunged from the high rise. 1 minute later, 2 mangled bodies lay on the ground. 15. When Xinyu took over the Shin group, he inherited a complete mess. He called me every day to vent. I didn't need to console him. Xinyu had his own ways of coping. But then, one time, his luck ran out. Xinyu was kissing his new boyfriend on the street when Pei Xian, passing by, punched him square in the nose. Pei Xian grabbed him by the collar, his eyes blazing red. "Xinyu, what the hell is wrong with you? How dare you deceive Fu Luo?" Xinyu, who had been brimming with anger just moments before, was now utterly bewildered. In a daze, he pointed a finger at himself. Me, deceive Luo Luo? When did that happen? How come I don't know anything about it? You even called her, baby. Getting engaged right in front of her was bad enough. But then you had to go and get involved with some random guy." Pei Xian gritted his teeth, clearly still wanting to smash his fist into Xinyu's face. The latter abruptly called for a stop. "Wait, have you got the wrong idea? Luo Luo and I are just best friends." Pei Xian's movement froze mid-air. After a long moment, he silently lowered his fist and gave Xinyu a complicated look. "Why the hell didn't you say so sooner? Don't tell me you have a thing for my best friend." Xinyu let out another shriek and snatched up the phone to call me before Pei Xian could even stop him. "Luo Luo, that bastard Pei Xian beat me up. I'm crippled. You must, absolutely, under no circumstances, fall for him." Half an hour later, arriving at the hospital, I found Xinyu with a broken nose and listened to his accusations against Pei Xian. From his account, I managed to piece together the truth. I couldn't help but cover Xinyu's mouth. "All right, that's enough. You're being a bit too much." Xinyu looked at me with teary eyes. "Babe, have you found someone new?" Pei Xian averted his gaze, unable to bear the sight, and I felt rather awkward. "Sorry, I didn't know he was gay." "Apologize to me." "What's the point of apologizing to her?" Xinyu was seeking attention again, so I quietly put a bit more distance between us. "Don't mind him. That's just how he acts around people he's close with." Pei Xian paused for a moment before speaking, seemingly offhandedly. "In that case, would you mind if I asked you out?" I thought about it for a moment. Pei Xian had a good build, and his character and family background were solid. I'd previously thought he was gay, but he'd personally denied that later. All things considered, giving a relationship a shot really wouldn't be a bad deal. I nodded and said, "All right then, let's see if you can win them over." "No." Shenyu was about to speak again, But he immediately fell silent with an awkward look after I shot him a glance. Pei Xian held out a Buddhist amulet to me, raising an eyebrow with a light chuckle. I've wanted to give this to you for a long time. Will you accept it? I accepted the very same Buddhist amulet he had knelt and prayed for across 2 lifetimes. In the past life, the amulet was hidden away in a forgotten corner. In this life, I am the one who picks it up. I waved the amulet at him and said, well, thank you then. Story 2. Grandma is extremely stingy. To save a few bucks on electricity, she hid the AC remote in 60-degree heat. The whole family ended up getting heatstroke. Their bodies burned like meat sizzling on a griddle. After our deaths, she received millions in compensation, yet poured it all into subsidizing her brother-in-law's family. When I opened my eyes again, the news was broadcasting a high-temperature warning. I reheated last week's stewed vermicelli. Making do saves another meal. One must budget carefully to get by. Grandma untied her apron, urging us to eat quickly. This leftover dish has been reheated 3 times already, with greasy residue floating in a sticky mess. Just looking at it makes me nauseous. Before me, Grandma keeps chattering away while the pungent spoiled smell attracts buzzing flies. I remember in my past life, it was also around this time, during the dog days of summer, the meteorological station issued a high-temperature warning. 1. I immediately ordered a bunch of heatstroke prevention supplies and secretly paid several thousand in electricity bills. When the temperature soared to 50 degrees, I was so hot I could barely breathe, frantically wanting to turn on the AC to cool down quickly. Grandma thought she was clever by hiding the remote control. Heating it up won't kill you, you wasteful brat, always trying to spend more of your parents' money. Don't think I didn't notice you bought a bunch of ice packs and fans. I've already given them to Axel to use. To survive, I braved the deadly heat to dig through the trash, yet the whole family still suffered from heatstroke, their faces flushed red and bodies convulsing, like pork being roasted alive on a griddle. But the old woman managed to survive by relying on the supplies I retrieved. She even used all the generous relief funds she received to subsidize her nephew Axel from my uncle's family. After our deaths, she transferred our family's house and car to Axel's name. My uncle's family lived happily ever after in a 3-generation household, feasting on the fruits of our suffering. At this thought, I gnashed my teeth in rage and overturned the table with hatred. Grandma let out a sharp scream. You damned money-losing wretch, what madness possessed you to ruin all this food? Are you trying to kill this old woman? I sneered as I watched her picking at the leftovers. If you love eating scraps, go dig through the trash. I'm no beggar. Do I lack this one bite of food from you? Grandma stomped her feet in rage, shouting, what's wrong with me trying to save this family some money? You little brat even dare curse me to die. I should have strangled you at birth. I was so angry I laughed. Saving money at the cost of the whole family's lives. In the end, Axel got the bargain. Then go save money by yourself. Whether you eat spoiled food or starve to death, it doesn't matter. Just don't drag me and Mom into your mess. My grandma immediately called my dad with a mournful face to complain. I directly set all the air conditioners in the house to 20 degrees with cold air, crossed my legs comfortably, and ordered several $100s worth of takeout and medicine. The news was urgently broadcasting. Emergency red high temperature warning for tomorrow. Citizens, please take precautions against the heat. My heart sank. It's finally happening. After my grandmother finished complaining, she saw us mother and daughter enjoying a full meal and relaxing in the air conditioning. In an instant, the sky seemed to collapse. Furious, she pointed at the table full of takeout boxes and yelled, you two wasteful women. My son is out there saving every penny. And this is how you squander his hard-earned money. She cursed until her mouth was parched, yet her eyes remained fixed on the golden fried chicken, swallowing hard several times. With practiced ease, I swiftly packed the leftovers and tossed them into the trash, said with a half-smile, the spoiled food in the kitchen is the healthiest and most nutritious. You should eat more of it, old-timer. It'll help you live longer. Grandma's face turned livid with anger. She snorted. Then brought out a bowl of leftovers, eating while cursing. Mom and I exchanged a knowing smile, both seeing secret delight in each other's eyes. The temperature had already soared to 40 degrees. While the old woman wasn't paying attention, I hid all the cooling supplies thoroughly, took the opportunity to replace a broken remote control. This time, let's see how she manages to squirm. Dad came back from the night shift completely drenched. The moment Grandma saw her backup arrive, her headache and back pain vanished as she sprang up like a carp leaping and shouted, my son, these two wasteful women kept the air conditioner running all afternoon, burning through hundreds of dollars in electricity bills. My dad's face immediately darkened like the bottom of a pot, scowling at my mom. "You damn woman, if you dare disrespect my mother again, I swear I'll divorce you." With that, he snatched the remote and smashed it to pieces. Grandma still wasn't satisfied and kept fanning the flames, while Dad, to show his filial piety, wouldn't even spare that old broken fan. In the previous life, at least there was that old creaky fan spinning away, too. Now the thermometer is practically melting from the heat. That mother and son's faces were redder than liver, yet they stubbornly insisted it wasn't hot at all. Before long, Grandma started vomiting and having diarrhea to the point of dehydration. Summer meals naturally spoil more easily. In my previous life, I suffered food poisoning from this and nearly didn't make it, almost kicking the bucket, and Grandma even pointed at my nose scolding me, saying, "A maid's fate but a lady's delicate constitution." Now it was her turn to feel dizzy, though the moans from her mouth never ceased. I originally wanted to pretend I didn't hear, but Grandma suddenly leaned over, grabbed my hand, and affectionately coaxed, "Good granddaughter. You're so filial, you surely can't bear to see Grandma suffer, right?" I'm utterly speechless. She kept chattering away. "There's a big pharmacy 10 kilometers away that often has discount promotions. Hurry and buy some stomach medicine for Grandma, but don't you dare splurge on taking the bus. It's just a 2-hour walk. Consider it payback for all the love Grandma's given you since childhood." My smile froze. What kind of crazy talk was she saying? The ground temperature had reached the point where frying an egg would instantly cook it. Not a single soul could be found on the streets. I could die from the heat out here and no one would notice. Besides, whenever I stocked up on medicine at home, she'd fuss about it being a waste of money since we weren't sick or in trouble. "You don't know the pain until the boomerang hits you," forced out a fake smile. "Didn't you always say headaches and fevers will pass if you tough it out? And that all pharmacists are scammers?" Seeing I wouldn't engage, Dad flew into a rage. "How dare you talk back to your elders? Is it really so hard to show a little filial piety? My father's greatest skill is outsourcing filial duties." He never stopped saying, "My mother had it hard," using emotional manipulation to make us mother and daughter uphold his image as the perfect filial son. I immediately pretended to be deeply moved and chimed in, "Grandma, you're truly blessed to have raised such a filial son like Dad. Buying medicine is nothing. He'd go through fire and water for you. Since Dad has said so, we should hurry and go." Dad immediately lost his confidence, stammering and not daring to make a sound. Watching Grandma retch violently while the room felt as stifling as a steamer basket was unbearable. But as soon as my father stepped out the door with his left foot, he was immediately forced back by the scorching heat. His face red like a roasted sweet potato. He didn't dare mention filial piety anymore, just frantically waved an old palm leaf fan at full speed. The heat had already put everyone in a foul mood. Grandma kept yelling that our whole family was ungrateful, willing to watch her die in pain at home. When it came to his own life, my father's hypocritical mask immediately fell away. He shouted at his own mother, "This wouldn't have happened if you hadn't insisted on pinching pennies and making everyone suffer. If we don't turn on the AC now, the whole family might as well prepare to meet the king of hell." With that, he grabbed the remote and started mashing buttons randomly, completely ignoring Grandma's distressed cries. What made it even more awkward was that the remote control had already been smashed to pieces by him. The mother and son immediately turned against each other, arguing fiercely with neither willing to back down. I thoroughly enjoyed watching the dog-eat-dog drama. Then I pretended to be surprised and exclaimed, "How did a remote control get stuck in this couch crevice?" The room temperature dropped quickly, with cool breezes blowing refreshingly. My dad even extravagantly turned on the TV with a wave of his hand. The media was reporting several new cases of heatstroke patients in the city, all of whom died despite rescue efforts. The parents were overjoyed as if they had narrowly escaped death, but my grandma still insisted on suffering unnecessarily, causing trouble as soon as she recovered a bit. "This old bones of mine don't deserve air conditioning, you enjoy it, I'll stay where it's hot." 3. But this time, not a single word was said to stop her. After giving us a disdainful look, she wobbled to the kitchen carrying a small stool. Soon after, there was a loud clang. Grandma had fainted from heatstroke and collapsed to the ground. As the weather gradually cooled, Dad frantically carried the moaning grandma onto the ambulance. She had broken ribs and was grimacing in pain. Dad paid tens of thousands in medical fees again. My heart ached so much it nearly bled, and I couldn't hold back my emotions in front of everyone. "Just keep acting up, no one can outdo you." When my grandmother was hospitalized, many relatives came to visit. She immediately changed into tattered clothes full of patches, constantly lamenting her miserable fate. Her words implied that we didn't feed or clothe her, and wouldn't even turn on the AC for her in hot weather. Relatives were all fooled by her crocodile tears, glaring at our family with murderous rage. My youngest uncle was the one who cried the most dramatically. "My child, if I'd known you were living like this, I'd never have let your eldest brother's family take you away. Even if we had to beg for food, I'd make sure you were comfortably taken care of." I was so angry I nearly laughed. Who would have thought this so-called filial son would even delay paying a mere 500 yuan monthly support? Yet Grandma pinched every penny at our house, only to spend all her savings subsidizing my uncle's family. I've been eating chaff and wild herbs every meal, yet managed to nourish my cousin into being plump and well-fed, holding the just-paid medical bill. I walked over and sneered, "Uncle, don't just talk the talk. The medical fees should be split equally between our families. 32,000 yuan. Will you pay via Alipay or bank transfer?" Uncle immediately looked nervous and irritably cut me off. "What right does a little girl like you have to speak? Our Axel is at the age where he needs to spend money, so what's the big deal if your family takes a little loss?" My grandma, who was already unusually biased, quickly jumped to his defense. "That's right, we're all family, why fuss over such a small amount of money?" The relatives, all shrewd people, could see what was going on and started making sarcastic, venomous remarks. The uncle was scolded until his old face turned red, finally gritting his teeth to part with some money. That very night, Grandma called me over with a shifty look in her eyes. "Naira, this medicine is too expensive. I saw several bottles at the nurse's station. You're quick with your hands. Sneak a few bottles back in the dark. It'll be a great service to our family." I was left speechless with shock. Is it really that hard to get your uncle's family to cough up a couple of coins, forcing you at your age to resort to appearing on a legal show? Yet my cousin, buried in his video games, actually took it to heart. At 3 a.m., they were caught red-handed by patrolling security guards with the stolen goods. I was too ashamed to lift my head, my face mask pulled tight, unwilling to admit these absolute embarrassments shared my bloodline. What's even more ridiculous is that my cousin can't even manage to steal properly, clumsily smashed someone else's expensive medicine worth tens of thousands, got so scared over stealing $3.52 worth of glucose syrup that the nurse called the police overnight. My grandma was so furious she pounded her chest and stamped her feet, cursing at me the moment she saw me. If you had any sense and took responsibility proactively, would Axel have been dragged into this? If anything happens to him, I swear I won't go on living. My cousin, who had been trembling like a quail, became even more worked up upon hearing this. "Women are nothing but bad luck. If you hadn't forced me to act, would I have been humiliated like this? Your family must pay for this. Don't even think about pinning it on me." Even though I was accustomed to our family's inherited shamelessness, I was still left speechless. "So you're saying stealing is my fault now? You don't blink an eye spending thousands on in-game skins, but can't even afford glucose syrup for your own grandmother. Don't think you too can get away with shamelessness just because you're thick-skinned. The HD cameras caught everything clearly, and you can't pin this mess on me." When the police came to take statements, my grandma suddenly came up with another sneaky idea. Crying buckets of tears, she begged me to take the blame for my cousin, saying we mustn't ruin her precious grandson's future. "So what if a girl like you gets a criminal record? Axel is destined to become a high-ranking official in the future." Hilarious. "So I'm just supposed to take the fall, huh?" Meeting my cousin's expectant gaze, I mockingly poured cold water on his hopes. Damaging property can be settled with compensation, but getting caught for taking the blame under a false name could land you in jail. The uncle had no choice but to swallow his pride and accept it like eating a fly. Grandma couldn't wait to stir up trouble again after just a couple of quiet days. She wanders around the park's matchmaking corner every day, claiming to find me a good partner. I've told her countless times to mind her own business, yet my phone keeps getting flooded with more harassing WeChat messages, without even saying hello. They couldn't wait to comment under my coffee shop check-in post. A place with such expensive decor must cost 2 cans of baby formula per visit. "I really don't know where you women get all this money from." I immediately blocked and deleted them, warning the old woman to stop leaking my private information. She agreed verbally, but then turned around and brought a matchmaker to pressure me into marriage. How many years does a woman have to bear sons? If you don't marry soon, your life will be ruined. I felt both angry and annoyed, and snapped impatiently. "Got a problem? If not, get out. who gave you the right to judge me? But my grandma immediately got as jumpy as if her tail had been stepped on, stepping forward to fan the flames. How dare you speak like that? For this match we're arranging, the dowry alone is a full 300,000 yuan. I instantly realized. They're trying to push me into a pit of fire. Sure enough, a burly man squeezed through the door, grinning at me with yellowed teeth. So this is the wife you introduced to me, he he he. She's quite a looker. I recognized him at first glance. That was a rapist freshly released from prison, over some lousy bride price. That damned old hag would have sold me by the pound. Fortunately my mother stood firm and chased them away, but the old woman left with a resentful pout, muttering under his breath, "Humph, Hawk is such a fine young man, and that was a full 300,000. What an ungrateful wretch." With that, he packed his bags and went to stay at his uncle's place, declaring he'd never have anything to do with me again. But the peace didn't last 2 days. Just as our new house was finished being renovated, that scheming uncle came knocking again. "Big brother, I think we should transfer the ownership of this new house to our cousin's name. After all, he's the only male heir of our Shin family." The cousin eyed the surroundings greedily, barely able to suppress his grin, for the schemes of this father-son duo were practically flying into my face. I'd long heard that uncle had racked up a mountain of gambling debts and couldn't even return home these days due to debt collectors, dragging my elderly grandmother into this, forcing her old bones to hide from debt collectors everywhere. She's rushing to marry me off, all because she's eyeing the bride price to pay off debts. The moment they heard our family bought a new house, they came swooping in like starving dogs. Grandma immediately pushed forward, weeping bitterly as she cried out, "Axel is the only male heir left in our family. He's about to get married but has no house. This old woman of mine can't go on living another day without this settled. To put it bluntly, a married daughter is like spilled water. You can't take it back. Won't you still have to rely on your cousin to take care of you in your old age?" My father hesitated at these words, silently smoking his pipe in frustration. What gnawed him most was not having a son to carry on the family name. But I couldn't swallow this injustice and cursed. "Does this house have even a penny's worth of connection to you? What kind of pipe dream are you having?" That bunch of scumbags got triggered by my words and started yelling for this worthless girl to get out. I grabbed a broom to chase them out, and the old hag stumbled in fright, nearly tripping to her death. But my father suddenly shouted angrily, "You damn brat, do you still have any respect for your father?" Seeing she had backup, Grandma became even more vicious and mean. "Look how you've spoiled this brat into lawlessness, wasted all that money on her college education for nothing. Not only did she learn nothing, but she turned into an unmarriageable shrew, embarrassing the whole family." It felt like a bucket of cold water had been poured over my head, but my father, under some inexplicable influence, was eventually persuaded. My mother had a clear head and considered my interests, but her timid nature left her helpless with anxiety. I could only watch helplessly as my uncle's family moved in without any hesitation. The 3-bedroom apartment instantly became so crowded there was barely room to stand. They even changed the lock on my bedroom door, and my cousin pointed at me shouting indignantly, "From now on this is my gaming room. Just set up a camp bed on the balcony to sleep. Stay out of my sight unless necessary." What's worse, Mom and I were even denied the right to eat at the dining table, yet my father was completely charmed by my cousin all day long. He kept saying his nephew was even dearer than his own daughter. My uncle couldn't wait to marry me off. A greasy, pot-bellied old man at the dinner table adjusted his glasses and leered at me with a sleazy smile. "What a pretty little girl. Just perfect for bearing me a big healthy son." Granny was so delighted her eyes narrowed into slits as she hurriedly agreed, "Yes, yes, yes. It's her good fortune that you take a fancy to this lass. But our Eloan is after all getting married for the first time, so the bride price." I felt so nauseous I could vomit last night's meal, pointing at the old woman and cursing, "If you're lonely from widowhood, go remarry yourself. Stop using such trash to disgust people. Don't think I won't get angry just because I seem easy to bully." I turned to look at Dad, furiously demanding, "5, are you even a man?" Watching Mom and me being humiliated like this, yet standing there as motionless as a block of wood. But Grandma immediately scolded harshly, "You little brat, stop stirring up trouble here. Having a filial nephew like Axel to take care of me in old age is 10,000 times better than a money-losing burden like you who'll marry off sooner or later." My cousin hastily nodded to show his loyalty, making me seem like an outsider in their words. After clearly seeing this family's true colors, I let out a cold laugh. "Since you've lost all sense of shame to this extent, don't blame me for being heartless and unrighteous." after arranging for a moving company. My mother and I moved out of that dreadful place overnight. Grandma leaned against the door, cracking melon seeds while making sarcastic remarks. "Oomph, you jinx, if you'd had the sense to leave quietly earlier, you wouldn't have driven me half to death. What good is all your rebellious defiance anyway?" Seeing that I ignored her, she kicked over the luggage while cursing. "Are you deaf or dead? You have no manners toward your own grandmother. You look down on someone divorced with kids. But I bet no one would even sleep with a cheap little bitch like you for free." I was so furious I could grind my teeth, barely believing these words came from a human. I slapped her hard across the face. She didn't react in time, just covered her wrinkled face and let out a shriek. "You filthy bitch." Before the words even finished, another slap came swinging. Having vented my anger, I put my hands on my hips and taunted, "How's that? I'll teach you, you old bastard. To keep your foul mouth shut, acting like you've got nothing to lose just because you're knocking on death's door." Seeing that I truly had the upper hand, the old woman finally swallowed her anger, but her gaze at me was as sharp as venom, and she threatened, "No matter how arrogant you are, you'll still have to get out. This house will fall into my dear grandson's hands, and you can forget about taking it back." I lightly covered my mouth and nose. "Since you're so fond of sticking around, you might as well be a good human air purifier. The house was just renovated a few days ago, and the formaldehyde hasn't even dissipated completely. To save money, Grandma rushed to move the whole family in, and even proudly said, renting a place must be so expensive. Saving money for Axel's marriage is the real priority. Secondly, long nights bring many dreams. Better prevent that damn girl from scheming about the house again. Anyway, even the king of hell can't persuade those doomed to die. Free from psychological burdens, I simply dusted myself off and walked away without a second thought. Grandma keeps showing off her family's domestic bliss in her social media posts all day long. Occasionally she asks me with a sour tone, "You and your mom must be having a hard time out there. The bitterness of envy must be unbearable. Is it more enjoyable to squeeze into a toxic room inhaling formaldehyde every day, or to toil like a beast of burden as a free nanny?" My phone happened to pop up with a loan repayment reminder. I immediately deleted it and took my mom out for a big feast. Within 2 days, that whole family was frantically searching for me everywhere, even through the screen. I could imagine their anxious, scratching their heads expressions. Gone was the initial arrogance, replaced by relentless bombardment of texts and calls. "How did the bank's debt collection calls reach our home? Your grandmother was so frantic she nearly had a stroke. You have 3 days to repay everything. The lawyer says you'll be jailed if the loan isn't repaid. I order you to return immediately and settle this." "Naira, where are you? They're saying they'll repossess the house. Where are we supposed to live?" Mom hesitated with a pained expression, staring at the screen and murmuring to herself, "No matter what, your father is getting on in years now. If anything were to happen to him." I leaned close and whispered a few words in her ear. Only then did Mom finally relax. After cutting off support for several months, that entire family actually had the audacity to show up at my door. They immediately started bossing me around and yelling, "Heartless, your cousin and his partner were already at the stage of discussing marriage when the bank came to repossess the house. Now the wedding is off. You'd better give us an explanation." Did I laugh? Was I the one who forced him to marry and have children to carry on the family line? Yet I just threw up my hands and blinked innocently, saying, "My pockets are emptier than my face. And besides, the house isn't under my name. What's the use of coming to me?" My cousin got so angry he pulled out his social media feed and shoved it in Grandma's face, stirring the pot by saying, "Don't listen to her nonsense. She just came back from a vacation in Sonia. Who'd believe you have money for travel but can't pay the mortgage?" The photo shows an island beach and a luxury cruise ship. Absolutely breathtaking. Grandma slapped her thigh in utter distress. "Heavens, this trip must have cost a fortune." 6. I smiled and continued stabbing knives into her heart. "About 50 or 60,000. There's no way I'm paying the mortgage. If worst comes to worst, let the court auction it off. That way, you won't be so possessive about other people's money." Grandma turned livid with rage, nearly choking on her anger. Damn it. But before she could finish her sentence, she collapsed straight backward, crash, by the hospital bed. My cousin stared at me as if trying to bore holes through me. "It's all because of your reckless spending that you made Grandma sick. We're being hounded by the bank, barely scraping by meal to meal. How dare you feast outside?" Grandma was still delirious, hooked up to an 4 drip, muttering incoherently, repeating curses like "money waster" and "jinx." watching them get so worked up and defensive. I was practically blooming with joy inside. With just a casual glance, I burst out laughing. Why? Because I'm just lucky, that's why. But before my cousin could even stomp his feet in anger, the doctor urgently called him away. Patient in bed 017 diagnosed with formaldehyde poisoning. All cohabiting family members must come for full body examinations immediately. The tragic news came too suddenly, leaving everyone stunned with blank minds, only reacting after a long daze. My younger cousin trembled with weak legs, staring at me with a ghastly pale face. You bitch, did you know this would happen all along? The uncle was also scared pale, his shrill voice almost cracking. It's all your fault, you old fool. You insisted we move in just to save a few thousand in rent. Damn it, I don't want to die yet. Grandma was too frantic to speak, just wildly gesturing at me. Those turbid eyes shed tears. Yet they resembled lifeless fish eyes without focus, but this time, no one would ever stand up for her again. When the physical examination results came out, unsurprisingly, everything was marked in red. The whole family achieved 3 generations under one roof, once more in the intensive care unit. It took stripping off a layer of skin to finally get the illness under control. When Dad lay helpless on the hospital bed with no one to care for him, even the nephew who'd sworn to support him in old age turned hostile. While Grandma showed no concern for his survival, constantly badgering him for the bankbook password, after being utterly heartbroken by so-called family, only then did he eagerly remember me and Mom. Sentimental texts and desperate repeated calls kept coming, yet not a ripple stirred in my heart. Fortunately his condition was the mildest, and he was discharged after enduring a few weeks. Before leaving home, I moved several pots of formaldehyde-absorbing pothose plants into his bedroom. It had some effect at least. Only then did my father regret it to the point of shedding bitter tears, and despite his illness, he insisted on transferring the property under my name. Upon hearing this, Grandma was so furious she nearly ascended to heaven on the spot, but for once, Dad finally saw reason and defended his own. You favor your precious youngest grandson, but must you tear my family apart for it? Bring up the house matter again, and I'll no longer acknowledge you as my mother. The 3 of them, grandparents and grandchild, came to make a scene several more times to no avail. They could only tuck their tails and slink away in disgrace. While accompanying my mother to buy groceries at the market, I spotted my hunched-over grandmother from afar, so thin she was just skin and bones, scrounging for rotten vegetable leaves discarded by vendors near their feet. Mother let out a soft sigh, her voice tinged with pity. I immediately stopped her from acting like a saint, replaying in my mind the old hag's vicious face when she drove us out to sweep the streets. Since she can't appreciate good meals, then she deserves to pick up rotten vegetables. But never in my wildest dreams did I expect that on a night of torrential rain, Grandma was actually waiting eagerly outside my office building to bring me an umbrella. She was completely drenched, her face bruised black and blue, looking utterly pitiful and wretched. Naira, Grandma was wrong. I shouldn't have been so stingy and partial. Now I truly regret it. Can you forgive Grandma one last time? It turns out my cousin's sequelae were extremely severe. He can never do heavy manual labor again. He was already accustomed to being idle and lazy. Now having found an excuse, he simply resigned himself completely to lying at home and mooching off his parents. Every time he came back drunk, he would throw tantrums, smashing things, and even resort to kicking and hitting his own grandmother. Not only did the uncle not stop him, but he also joined in with complaints and curses. If it weren't for this old hag, would we still be living this miserably poor life? Only after listening to her tearful account did I realize what kind of drama she was playing. But after Rebirth, I've given her many chances already, without exception. They were all ruined by her extreme favoritism toward sons over daughters. I said coldly, I'll call Uncle to pick you up. There's a convenience store right there. I don't need your umbrella. But Grandma suddenly knelt down at my knees, pleading desperately, then, could you please take me home? I promise I'll never bother you again. My colleague's gossip was stabbing me in the back. Even the boss couldn't stand it and reminded me to watch my behavior. The security guard was afraid her old bones would fall apart and didn't dare to move recklessly. I was truly worn down and had no choice but to reluctantly agree, but many ominous premonitions arose in my heart. The closer we got to the narrow alley, the tighter Grandma gripped my wrist without letting go. As they neared the doorway, her voice erupted with a strange excitement, trembling yet bewitching. Good Naira. We're almost there. Help me one last time, won't you? Consider it repayment for all the love I've given you since you were little. My head buzzed with the realization that something was wrong. My mouth and nose were tightly covered by a man who appeared out of nowhere. I struggled desperately to breathe, but air could no longer reach my lungs, and my head grew increasingly dizzy. Grandma completely dropped her pitiful act, planting her hands on her hips and gnashing her teeth. "I've brought the person, now it's up to you to make it work." The man's lewd laughter echoed in my ears. It was actually that rapist. His hands wandered restlessly over my body as he spewed vulgar words. "Once I'm done having my fun and get her pregnant, it'll be a done deal." Granny counted the money while licking her fingers, beaming with joy. "You bitch." Still trying to fight me, I realized I'd fallen into a trap. First forced myself to calm down. Then stealthily slipped my left hand into my pocket while he was distracted, suddenly whipped out the pepper spray and started spraying wildly at his eyes. The taste was unexpectedly and overwhelmingly spicy. 7. The man who had been on top of me immediately froze, coughing so hard tears nearly burst out. The air was thick with intensely pungent capsaicin. Veins bulged on his forehead as he howled in agony. I countered with a cross lock and pinned him to the ground. I promptly called the police without hesitation. Weeks ago, I had a vague sense that someone was secretly following me. I immediately sought a coach to learn basic self-defense techniques and ordered several practical anti-harassment tools. That wicked old hag never had good intentions. How could she possibly show me kindness without reason? By the time the police car arrived, Grandma was already choking, her eyes swollen, drool uncontrollably dripping. Coughing so violently it felt like her lungs would burst out. She clung to Uncle like a lifeline, begging for help, but the father and son, terrified of being implicated, buried their heads deeper than ostriches, guiltily glancing at me several times while hypocritically advising, "Poor niece, you've suffered injustice. It's all that old wretch's fault for driving our families apart. Now he nearly ruined your virtue." Yet I had no intention of letting them off, stating coolly, "You mean you two had no part in this? Do you take me for a 3-year-old child?" No matter how innocently the two tried to act or distance themselves, they were still escorted into detention for investigation. Before long, 3 generations of the family achieved a grand reunion behind bars. The peaceful days after the dust settled were quite pleasant, and in the blink of an eye, another scorching summer arrived. The temperature soared to 38 degrees Celsius. The spacious and bright house had powerful air conditioning. While leaning on the soft couch watching the noon news, the female host reminded citizens to heed the high-temperature warning. Mom and I held the sweet, juicy watermelon and started munching on it. The memories of past hardships gradually faded away with the sound of cicadas. Story 2. In my previous life, I won 10 million yuan in the lottery. I told my boyfriend about it. He borrowed 2 million yuan from me to buy a car. With the remaining money, I used 4 million yuan to buy a finely decorated house. I gave the rest to my parents. Half a month later, the end of the world came. However, he, together with his so-called good brothers, ran to my house and threw me downstairs. Unexpectedly, God gave me a chance to do it all over again. This time, I must protect myself and my parents well. 1. I was thrown down from building 20 by Xander and Cora together. I watched as the zombies that came following the sound gradually devoured me bit by bit. I watched myself being eaten little by little, and my soul flew to building 20. My parents were awakened by my cries, but they were knocked to the ground by Xander. He fed my parents sleeping pills and then threw them into the group of zombies as well. Cora leaned in Xander's arms, and her voice was affected. "Xander, I'm so scared. You have to protect me." Xander hugged her and smiled. "There's enough food here to last us 2 or 3 years. Baby, you don't need to be afraid." My eyes were filled with anger, but I was powerless. Watching the two of them doing improper things, I felt it was extremely ridiculous. If I had another chance, I would never let the two of them go. Suddenly, there was a strong light, and I returned to my body. Everything was going backward, looking at the lottery ticket in my hand. Could it be that I was reborn? I tightly clenched the lottery ticket in my hand, and the corners of my lips curled into a smile. This time, I'm going to take back everything I lost. I bought a doll costume before going to exchange the lottery ticket. When I saw the real money in the bank card, I was sure that I was truly reborn. I calculated that there were still 15 days and 10 hours left. I quickly called my parents. After meeting my parents, I first told them about the zombies. My parents didn't believe it at first. Later, I told them that I was thrown downstairs and died a miserable death in the apocalypse. I didn't tell my parents about their own ending. I thought it was better that only I knew such a tragic truth. Although they still didn't quite believe me, they were willing to listen to me. Child, What do your parents need to do? My father asked me, looking at me. Mom, Dad, I just went to claim the lottery prize, 10 million yuan. I took out the bank card and showed it to my parents. My parents looked at the bank card with some confusion. Child, you're not lying to us, are you? My mother said, looking at me. Then she turned to my father and said, could this child have a fever? As she spoke, she put her hand on my forehead. I don't. What I'm saying is true. As I spoke, I showed my parents the arrival notice message on my phone. Mom and Dad, let's buy a house first. The safety factor of this house isn't high enough. As I spoke, I started pulling my parents outside. In my previous life, our family didn't have a good ending because of those two scumbags. This time around, I want to protect our family well. In my previous life, the house I bought, it had a very high safety factor, was on a high floor, and everything was so perfect. I pulled my parents to the familiar real estate sales office and met the familiar real estate agent. I became happier and happier in my heart. The real estate agent was very nervous. She was an intern girl and was quite honest. When introducing the house, she also mentioned some of the house's disadvantages, so she still hadn't sold a single house until now. My parents looked at each other and waited for my reply. Looking at the familiar real estate agent, I said, I want the 23rd floor of this building. Miss, you really know how to choose. This house has one elevator for one household and is a total of 200 square meters, but this house does have a disadvantage. When it was being constructed, the emergency exit was more than half narrower than normal. That is, you have to go out sideways because the size of the house was enlarged at that time. Since it's the top floor, the design was intended to be better at that time. This was a finely decorated house at that time, and because of this problem, it hadn't been sold until now. If you buy it, you can move in directly. As she spoke, she pulled us inside. Look. The latest shopping mall is being built nearby, although it's not in the city center now. The subway can't reach it directly either. According to the grapevine, there should be a subway route within the next 5 years, but there are buses, and it's very convenient for you, uncle and auntie, to go to other places. As she spoke, she pointed to the bus stop above. Okay, I'll take this one, I'll go pay. Without hesitation, I was about to go and pay. She smiled happily, but still patiently asked me, don't you need to inspect the place on the spot? No need. I took out my bank card. I'll buy it now. After swiping the card and handling everything, I took my parents to have a luxurious buffet, enjoying the last big meal in a short time before the zombies arrived. After eating, I hired a moving company. I directly had the necessary things at home taken away. Taking the elevator, I let the moving company finish moving the things. My parents started packing up the house. I rented a van for 15 days to purchase things. Since our family had just moved in, buying more things wouldn't arouse the suspicion of the community residents. My father used to be a construction worker, had a driver's license, and could drive this kind of van. Since my father used to be a construction worker, he first took my mother and me to buy soundproof floor mats and soundproof wall stickers. We went to the place selling glass, selected bulletproof glass, and found workers to come and install it tomorrow. We chose good doors and bought them as well, and they would be installed tomorrow. We bought 10 solar panels, and they would all be delivered to our home tomorrow. After writing down the address, we went to the electrical appliance store, thinking that when the end of the world comes, the lack of water, electricity, and food will become life's difficulties. Our family stepped up the speed of stockpiling goods. We bought a large double-door refrigerator, and it would also be delivered to our home. We changed to another electrical appliance store and chose to have the goods delivered to our home the day after tomorrow. Next, our family went to the vegetable market. Our family used to live in the countryside. In the past 2 years, because I had a good job in the city, so I rented a nice house for our family. I let my parents also enjoy the convenient life in the city. When we arrived at the vegetable market, our family started buying things separately. We scattered and would meet up later. I bought 100 packs each of dried fruits and dried vegetables. I bought 20 kilograms each of dried tremella mushrooms, black fungus, and kelp. I also bought 20 kilograms of small dried shrimps. My father bought 50 kilograms each of vermicelli and dried noodles. He bought vegetable seeds, 10 packs of various vegetable seeds. My mother bought 20 large bottles of sesame oil, 10 barrels each of soy sauce, vinegar, and cooking oil. She bought 50 bags of flour, 50 bags of cornmeal, 100 bags of rice, and 50 bags of millet. At that time, when our family was in the village, there was a large piece of land in the yard specifically for growing vegetables. At that time, we could really eat all kinds of vegetables at home. Later, when we came to the city, we could still grow garlic sprouts and chives by ourselves, but we had never grown winter melons, pumpkins, or kashaw. We bought various seasonings. Later, the Laoganma chili sauce might expire, but the chili oil definitely wouldn't, because you can make it yourself, putting chili oil on soaked black fungus, adding some vinegar, salt, and onions is really delicious, so we bought a lot of vegetables like potatoes and garlic. In order not to arouse suspicion, these are the total quantities we bought from different vegetable markets. Surely, the van couldn't finish transporting them in one trip. My father and I took turns driving to send them back. And we brought everything home one trip after another. Although we were very tired, we felt at ease when we thought that we could avoid the zombies later. After all, these things would be very precious for our meals later. After putting these things at home, we got in the car and discussed that after the freezer arrived, we would buy things like meat again. Next, our family went to a large supermarket. We bought 20 large packs each of melon seeds and peanuts, and 50 kilograms of compressed biscuits. Anyway, there was still a long time, so we just bought these things first. After getting home, my parents and I cleared out a guest room and started storing these supplies. I started buying things for tomorrow on Meituan Optimal. I didn't buy a lot, just the normal amounts. The next day, the decoration workers came to serve in the afternoon. My father stayed at home to supervise the work, and in the morning, I drove the van and took my mother to continue shopping. First, we went to the supermarket and bought 20 cases of wine so that my father could have a little drink. We also bought 10 cases of beer. We also bought 20 cases of 8 treasure porridge and 30 cases of pure milk. After sending them home, then, we drove about 10 kilometers, changed to a large shopping mall, and continued to purchase things. I pushed the cart. First, my mother and I went to the clothing area. We bought 10 sets of underwear for each person, 10 down jackets for each person, 10 sets of thermal underwear and thermal pants for each person, and 10 new outfits for each person. Then we went to the shoe area and bought 5 pairs of cotton slippers and ordinary slippers for each person. It's autumn now, and there might be some abnormal environments later. Then we bought 10 sets of bedding and 10 quilts, just in case. These were all bought together from different large supermarkets because we were really afraid of arousing others' suspicion. After all, when danger comes, the most dangerous things are not just disasters. Human nature may be even more dangerous. My mother and I decided to go back and take an inventory in the evening, and then see what else to buy. We still filled the car and sent 1 carload back. My father helped us carry the things at home and finished moving them before the decoration workers came. Then, my mother and I went to a store specializing in selling fitness equipment and bought a silent treadmill. After all, in the apocalypse, maintaining physical strength can help people live better. In the apocalypse, if we can't deal with the zombies, at least we can avoid some attacks. Moreover, in the apocalypse, it's not just the zombies. Every neighbor around us can be a source of danger. In total, we bought 10 yoga mats, 10 langya rods, 10 iron rods, 10 slingshots, and 5,000 marbles. Then my mother and I went to the electrical appliance mall and bought various pots. In addition, we also bought 10 robot vacuum cleaners and 5 monitoring devices. The monitoring devices would be installed by the staff in the afternoon. After buying these things, my mother and I went to buy lunch. After getting home, we carried the things together with my father for these fitness equipment. My mother and I also needed a large box. After having lunch and taking a short rest, my mother and I went to the vegetable market again and bought 50 kilograms of soybeans and 10 packs of each kind of vegetable seeds. After buying and loading them into the car, just as I fastened my seatbelt, my phone suddenly vibrated, and the familiar ringtone sounded again. "Baby, is your salary for this month going to be paid soon?" Hearing this voice that made me feel disgusted and scared, calling me baby now. I really think I was a fool before. "Xander, I've already resigned. I won't get this week's salary," I said, pretending to be sad. My mother was shocked when she saw this scene. Then, she silently watched me act. "No, why did you resign? If you resign, where will I get money from in the future?" It's said that when people are angry, they speak without thinking. I just said that I resigned, and he got anxious right away. Goodness. It turns out he's been eyeing my salary all along. "Ah, no, baby. I mean, if you resign, how are we going to plan for our marriage in the future?" He realized his slip of the tongue and quickly corrected himself. "Okay, Then I'll send out a few more resumes tomorrow. You should work hard too, I said, suppressing my nausea. Then can you transfer me some of your salary? I have no money now, he said to me confidently. Xander, I really have no money now. I'll give you money when I find a job and get my salary. I pretended to be wronged, baby. Don't you have any money at all? I really have. I pretended that the signal was bad and hung up the phone. My mother looked at me and didn't say anything. My mother didn't understand why I was still dealing with him. Mom, although I really want to break up with him directly now, we haven't finished moving yet, and we can't let him disrupt our plan, I said to my mother and started the car. My mother nodded. My mother and I continued to shop because my father just called and said that the masters were still installing things. My father also asked the maintenance master to install anti-theft nets, although the top floor seems very safe now, but we can't avoid the possibility that some people might do something. Looking at my phone, I thought of going to update the devices of myself and my parents. My mother and I went to a mobile phone store and bought 6 mobile phones, 6 tablets, 6 computers, and 3 drones. Although there might be no network in the apocalypse, at least we need a way to keep an eye on the news. My father sent us a message saying that the installation was done. 2 cameras were installed in the corridor outside the house to avoid blind spots, and 2 more were installed on the stairs. In the evening, we went out again and bought a total of 100 boxes of self-heating hot pot, 100 boxes of self-heating rice. We bought 30 cases of instant eggs, 30 packs of mineral water, 30 anti-freeze survival blankets, and 30 super large capacity power banks. We bought 6 sets of complete first aid kits and 10 telescopes. We bought 50 packs of garbage bags, 30 boxes of toothbrushes, 200 boxes of toothpaste, and 30 boxes of soap. We bought 30 bottles of hand sanitizer, 100 kilograms of laundry detergent, and 10 electric blankets. After carrying the things home, my parents and I first started organizing the supplies. My mother said that we would buy some things for hydroponics tomorrow. She also planned to buy 30 bottles of fruit canned food and 30 boxes of chicken canned food. I applied for a Sam's Club VIP membership that night. I had always wanted to apply for it before, but I never had the time to take my parents to Sam's Club. Then I had a good sleep. The next day, we bought a lot of things according to the plan. Now the guest room was already full, and my room also had a lot of things. The living room was still being prepared, after moving the things back at noon. Our family thought about going out for a meal. We went to a square and found a barbecue buffet. Unexpectedly, we were so unlucky that we met Xander and the others. We met them before we even went in, and immediately our appetite decreased by half. Xander had met my parents before when he was with me, so my parents knew him, and they weren't very happy either, but we ignored him. After all, this was the last meal before the zombies came. That scumbag didn't deserve to affect our appetite and mood. Baby, are you also here to have this barbecue buffet? Xander pointed at the self-service barbecue restaurant and said to me. I ignored him. Seeing this, he moved closer to me. Let's have it together. Xander looked at us and said, hello, uncle and auntie. We sat close to each other, but we were at table 9 and they were at table 10. Baby, I just paid the rent for the house I share with Cora recently, so could you please pay for our meal? You know, we rent the house together as 2 people and need more money. Xander sent me a text message. I rolled my eyes where he couldn't see, but I didn't plan to have a showdown with him for now. I smiled at him and replied, sure, when it's time to pay, I'll pay after my parents leave. I always have to leave a good impression of you in front of them. Hearing what I said, Xander didn't suspect anything. I sent a message to my parents on my phone asking them to leave first, after eating for a while. My father pretended to receive a call from a friend and said he was going to catch up with an old friend with my mother. Looking at the backs of my parents as they left, the corners of my lips curled into a smile. Xander, I'll charge you some interest first. I'll take my revenge for what happened in my last life slowly. After I was full, I signaled to Xander that I was going to pay the bill. The cashier's desk was on the 2nd floor. The 2 of them were not about me and kept their eyes on my back. I walked up to the cashier and said to the waiter, it's 457 yuan for the 3 people at table 9, you can scan me. After the waiter scanned the code, I asked her for 2 receipts. After going up to the 2nd floor, I waved the receipts in front of the 2 of them and then put an empty wallet on top of them. Xander, I'm going to the restroom. I'll leave my wallet and the payment receipt here for a while. Xander wouldn't be so stupid as to touch my things before I left. By the time he realized something was wrong, he wouldn't be able to find me anymore. I had already hailed a taxi when I was paying. After going downstairs, I left directly. In the taxi, I blocked all of Xander's contact information. After getting off the taxi, I met up with my parents in a high-end shopping mall. I bought 2 pairs of sports shoes for each of my parents and myself. We bought a water dispenser and also bought some water, which would be delivered to our home in the afternoon. Wow, there's so much already. Looking at the many supplies in the guest room, I was really very happy. My father first went to install the water dispenser and put the old water dispenser in the guest room. I climbed the stairs to the rooftop, seeing so many solar panels. I knew that they could supply electricity when the zombies came. The ringtone of my phone rang. I knew it was the water delivery man. I quickly took the elevator to meet them. Master, you can just put the water outside. Thank you for your hard work. We bought it this time just for the discount. I pointed outside the elevator and said to the master. The master smiled honestly and said, well, many people put it like this now. The master and I carried the water together, and we finished moving it quickly. I gave the master some food and let him go. After seeing the master off, my parents and I moved the water to the vacant room together. I'm so tired. I lay on the sofa and said, Mom and Dad, do you want to drink a beverage? As I spoke, I stood up again to get my favorite carbonated drink. I don't drink that stuff. You should also drink less of it. It won't help you grow taller. My father looked at me and said, How old am I? I've already stopped growing. After I finished speaking, I opened the Coke and took a sip. My parents smiled. That's true. The moment I drank the Coke, I felt like I was going to heaven, but thinking that just drinking Coke was a bit of a hardship for myself, I quickly opened the food delivery app. After exercising for so long, I still needed to eat something more. I ordered some fried chicken. Mom and Dad, do you want to order takeout? I waved my phone and asked my parents. I don't eat that stuff. The food outside isn't as clean as the food at home. As my father said this, he went to the kitchen and started cooking noodles. My mother was more open-minded. I won't order. I'll just have a little of yours later. Old man, the child just wants to eat a little. Look at you keep saying this. My mother turned her head and said to my father, then I'll cook more noodles. You can have some later too. My father was helpless, but what else could he do? He had to spoil his wife and child. The ringtone of my phone rang. The takeout had arrived, and I was so happy. Is there anything more wonderful than eating fried chicken and drinking Coke at the same time? If there is, it must be eating barbecue and fried chicken at the same time. After eating the fried chicken and drinking a bowl of noodle soup, I felt really great. It was like reaching the peak of my life. My father went to wash the dishes. And I started studying the robot vacuum cleaner according to the instructions. The robot vacuum cleaner can only clean the floor for now. Maybe it can be used to attract the attention of the zombies later. My mother was tidying up the utility room. We would put the remaining supplies in the utility room later. Suddenly, my mother stopped what she was doing. Where should we throw the garbage when the time comes? As soon as my mother said this, my father was also stunned for a moment. We can't throw things from a high place. This will attract the attention of not only the zombies, it will also attract the attention of some people, especially at this time. The trust between people has long collapsed. I thought for a while and then said, let's put it in the utility room first. If there is garbage with water in it, we'll flush it down the toilet. If it's dry, we'll throw it in the utility room. If it doesn't work out later, we'll keep thinking of a solution. My father offered his suggestion. My mother and I agreed with my father's idea. My mother continued to tidy up the things in the utility room, and I put the robot vacuum cleaner in order. I also started helping my mother move the things from the utility room out and put them in the living room. Thinking that the master would come to our home tomorrow, I quickly moved them to my room. This window screen isn't good. We need to buy one that is absolutely light blocking. My father was measuring the size of the living room and pointed at the window screen outside and said, I'll go and take a look tomorrow. My mother put down the things in her hand and touched the window screen. After soaking our feet together with my parents, I went to my room to play with my phone. I saw a piece of news on my phone. A man refused to pay after having a self-service barbecue with his girlfriend and even beat up the waiter. The police have intervened in the matter. Seeing this, I was in a great mood, and the corners of my mouth curved into a big smile. They have no money. The rental house they live in has a low safety factor, and they haven't prepared enough food. This time, without everything from me, let's see if they can still have an unbreakable relationship without food and protection. With their personalities, I'm afraid they'll turn on each other. We'll just have to see which one can survive. But this isn't something I care about anymore. What I need to pay attention to is that I can protect my parents in the apocalypse. I think it's already the happiest thing for me to be able to accompany them. Thinking of this, I took out a piece of paper from my bag and wrote on it, fire extinguisher, ice pack, large water cup, projector, thickened socks, various seasonings, toilet paper, sanitary napkins, ice maker. I really haven't bought so many things before, but after all, it's the end of the world. It's better to have something than nothing. My mother started choosing curtains and bought thick black curtains that don't let light through. My father had already measured the size last night, so we bought them especially quickly today. Then we bought things according to my list. After buying these things, my mother and I set off on our way home first. After moving the things, when we went back, we happened to meet the people delivering the electrical appliances. We put the cart aside first and then pushed it into my parents' room, because there were no supplies placed in their room for the time being. Looking at the arrangement of the refrigerator and the freezer, I was very satisfied. We put the fish tank against the wall. My father and mother started tidying up the curtains together. And I started cleaning up some of the garbage left over from the recent decoration. After cleaning up, I put the supplies in my room. My parents continued to install the curtains, and I checked my phone and saw that it started reminding me of the express deliveries. I started driving the van to different express delivery pickup points to get the packages. Sure enough, the express deliveries arrived very quickly. After picking up the packages, I went to fill up the gas tank. I had already refueled several times in the past few days because I had driven such a long distance. This is a disaster for all of humanity. Without having time to make more size, I started driving to the vegetable market. I bought 50 kilograms each of beef and mutton, 30 kilograms of fish, and also bought shrimp, chickens, ducks, and shrimp paste. After getting home, my parents and I moved the things in the car inside together. We started opening the express packages. Sure enough, opening express packages is one of the happiest things in the world. When my father came back, he said, "I don't know why, but there seems to have been a big car accident on the road today. It seems to be quite serious." I was quite far away at that time, so I took a detour. My father put a large bag of fish food aside and tidied up the other things. Hearing what my father said, I was stunned. At first, people just thought it was an ordinary car accident. In my previous life, wasn't there also a big car accident? The injured person couldn't wake up, but his physical signs showed that everything was normal. The hospital's initial judgment was that he was in a vegetative state. After 2 days, suddenly that person started attacking the people around him, and later the zombie virus broke out completely. I was very shocked. I quickly asked my father if it was at the intersection on Huashi Road that was very close to the Xinhua building. My father nodded and said, "Has the news spread so quickly?" I was a bit flustered in my heart. Everything was happening so fast. I called my parents over and said to them very seriously, "Mom and Dad, it seems that everything has been brought forward. It was originally something that was going to happen in 13 days, but now it has suddenly been brought forward by 10 days. So, Mom and Dad, we have to prepare quickly." Looking at me like this, there was also some panic in my parents' eyes. After all, it's a time when people are forced to rush into the era of the apocalypse. They will definitely be scared, but my parents' eyes quickly became determined. "Child, we'll live together." My mother looked at me and said firmly, looking at the determined eyes of my parents. I nodded. My parents and I started to divide the remaining tasks. I opened my phone to check the remaining express deliveries. Some of them would arrive today and some tomorrow, since we only rented one van. So my father went to another car rental company to rent a van separately. We went to buy supplies in 2 batches. When we bought the house, there was only one parking space, so my father and I had to go in batches. The van that my father rented could only be temporarily parked in the parking lot outside. By doing it alternately like this, buying things would be faster. After all, there was no time left. Looking at the remaining money in the card, my father and I divided it equally. And then we went our separate ways. My mother and I went to buy canned food, including some fruit canned food and meat canned food. We bought strawberry seedlings. Strawberries are easy to grow, at least for our family. Then we also bought eggplant seedlings, cucumber seedlings, string bean seedlings, and other vegetable seedlings. Seeing the continuous notifications of express delivery messages on my phone, we first went to different express delivery pickup points to get the packages. My mother went to pick up the express deliveries. I sat in the van and opened Jihu. I saw the anonymous message I had sent before. Everyone can stock up on more goods in daily life to avoid not being able to provide for themselves in case of some sudden events. Actually, not many people read it because when I browsed Jihu before, many people would say that they were from the future and that there would be a zombie outbreak. But everyone didn't believe it because there were too many people playing jokes. Although the IP address shows the province, fortunately, it doesn't show the specific address, otherwise, I wouldn't have sent it. In a time like the apocalypse, I must ensure my own safety first. After buying the things, we went home and put them away. My mother and I opened the express packages first and found that the water cups had arrived. We first planned to fill the water cups, the water buckets, and the kettles with water. Although I didn't live to the later stage in my previous life, the water resources were still abundant when I was alive, but in this life, everything has been brought forward, and we must make preparations in advance. We'll use the water in these containers first. If the water supply is cut off, the water we bought can be left for later use. After tidying up these things, my father also came back. My father had already bought several batches of meat and put them all in the large freezer. He also bought meatballs made of starch and other things. He bought sliced black-bone chicken, shrimp paste, and also tripe. He bought more than 30 frozen hairtail fish. These can be stored in the freezer for almost a year. When we were in the village before, we wouldn't put them in the refrigerator. In winter, the weather was very cold. We would hang them on the wall and fry them to eat during the spring festival. They were very delicious. I picked up the remaining express packages. I opened the express packages and sorted the supplies according to their categories. The guest room was already full, and my bedroom was also full. We only put clothes and blankets in the living room. My mother and I went to buy 6 sets of thick quilts and put the supplies in the cabinets of my parents and me. In the evening, my father went downstairs to take a look. My mother and I pulled all the curtains closed, and they completely blocked the light. My father also bought 2 cases of milk and 3 packs of eggs. By the way, our family ordered takeout, although my father always said that takeout was unhealthy. But before the apocalypse comes, ordering takeout can save supplies, so my father also joined us. My mother and I ordered a medium-sized portion of fried chicken together. Our family also ordered a serving of Hidalgo hot pot, and my father went to pick up the takeout. After our family was full, we started tidying up the vegetable seedlings. When we bought them in the morning, we just put them aside together. Our family also bought a plant growth lamp. I hugged my parents, thinking of the tragic deaths of my parents in my previous life. I choked up and said, "Tomorrow is the last day. From today on, we can't go out anymore. If something happens and it's brought forward again, we really can't be sure. Our family has to be okay." My parents looked at each other and nodded. After tidying up, I started opening some of the packaging bags. For the scattered bags, I opened the unnecessary outer bags and disposed of the unnecessary garbage. Now, I hope there is still one more day. I prayed. Actually, I'm still really afraid of the apocalypse in my heart. I still remember the pain of being bitten in the doomsday. After all, you have experienced it yourself, and it still makes you feel afraid when you think about it. I downloaded my favorite TV shows and offline games with my parents. After all, we don't know when the zombie apocalypse will end, and people will get bored. I told my parents. The next day, I was woken up by the alarm at 6 o'clock. I began to fill all the empty cups and other containers in the house with water. I didn't even spare the cola bottles. I rinsed them with tap water and then filled them up. I cleaned up the garbage and took out a batch first. There would definitely be no chance to throw out the garbage later, as throwing garbage could easily expose our location. My father started installing the one-way glass film. My father used to be a decorator. He is a very capable man. My mother started installing the water purifier. Just after I threw out the garbage, I saw it started to rain outside. I remembered it very clearly. It was indeed earlier than before. I quickly closed the curtains because the doomsday would start 15 minutes after it rained. Hashtag people biting in the hospital. Hashtag vegetative people biting. Hashtag some experts suggest that vegetative people biting is just because they haven't adapted to life after waking up. Hashtag such hot search topics suddenly appeared on the hot search list. Everything in the past life was repeating itself. Looking at all this, my parents were unhurried and continued to install the projector and organize other things. At this time, only I knew what was going to happen in the future among the 3 of us. They still thought it was something that would happen tomorrow. Mom and Dad, from now on, none of us is allowed to go out, I said to my parents, watching them stop what they were doing. Son, has it started? My mother asked, looking at me. My father also looked at me. I nodded and said, "Then let's quickly finish dealing with the remaining things." My father started to reinforce the door. My mother began to organize the things I had just brought back, and I continued to organize things. We finished organizing things quickly. After that, my mother started to install the plant grow lights and arranged the vegetable seedlings. The vegetable seeds were temporarily put into the cabinet of the coffee table because these vegetable seedlings were enough for the three of us to eat for the time being. There was more than enough. My father reinforced the iron door. I retrieved the surveillance footage and put it on the TV for our family to check at any time. I opened Facebook, and as expected, it was the same as in my past life, the same hot search topics and the same names. It would be a lie to say that I wasn't afraid. But seeing my parents by my side, I also felt happy and content at this moment, at least until now. I had protected my dearest ones. After everything was done, my father went to cook, and my mother went to make rice. I continued to check the news online and saw that some netizens had uploaded videos of people being bitten. A bitten person first fell to the ground and then stood up a few minutes later. With the blood still flowing from the bite wounds, he started biting the crowd. And everyone began to run away. This was a video recorded from a high place. According to my memory of the past life, the hospital was quite far from us, so there was no danger for the time being. But later, due to the lack of timely treatment, the number of zombies became more and more, and many places were overrun. I hoped that many people had seen my post and stocked up on supplies. As soon as I thought of the post, now that the event had happened, I quickly deleted it. Although it was anonymous, it was better to be careful. I opened Facebook. All the hot search topics were about this doomsday, and everyone was very afraid. It was okay when reading novels before, but now when really trapped in this world, there were all kinds of fearful and panicked feelings. After dinner, my parents and I continued to clean up. We laid a thick mat in the living room, took out 3 quilts, and our family planned to stay in the living room tonight. It had been a long time since I had stayed with my parents like this. I felt very emotional. We talked about a lot of things with my parents, from my childhood to the present. Then we all fell asleep. Maybe this was the last peaceful sleep. I dreamed of a world without zombies. Everything was so beautiful. After waking up, I opened Facebook and found that the situation of the zombies had become more serious. I steamed some buns and made a seaweed and egg soup. I had breakfast with my parents. I continued to browse Facebook to see where the zombies had spread to. Suddenly, a message popped up on my phone. Honey, I don't know what I did wrong. You blocked my contact information. Cora and I are in the rental house now. We are very afraid. Can we come to your place? Before I could reply, we have arrived. I smiled sarcastically. This person was really as shameless as ever, seeing that I didn't reply to him for such a long time. Xander couldn't wait and called me, baby. I'm at your door. I knocked on the door, but no one answered me. He said anxiously, don't you know what you did wrong, Xander? Do you really think I'm still the love-struck girl I used to be? I chuckled at Xander on the other end of the phone. I'm kind enough to give you a reminder. The zombies are coming. You and your little childhood sweetheart won't be able to escape. Enjoy the feeling of being bitten by zombies. He became angry and said, you bitch, I treated you so well. And now you treat me like this. Just you wait. After he finished speaking, I heard a loud banging on the door from the other end of the phone. The smile on my lips became even wider. Go ahead and bang. I'm waiting, I said. I thought about my love-struck behavior in the past life. I felt that I was really stupid. The vitality of zombies is really strong. Don't they have any weaknesses? Hot search topics. Hashtag zombies. Hashtag what to do when encountering zombies. Hashtag it is recommended that the public stay at home silently. Hashtag. I clicked in and saw the suggestions given by experts. Don't go out, temporarily stay at home and wait for rescue. I refreshed Facebook and saw the official notice. All major media immediately forwarded it. Currently, zombies have appeared in City A. According to the diagnosis of scientists, the mode of transmission is being bitten by zombies. But it is not excluded that people may be infected if zombie blood enters the human body. The infected people show signs of being bitten, and their eyes turn scarlet. Their walking behavior is different from that of normal people. They walk without consciousness and have the urge to bite living people. The relevant researchers are conducting research. Please, the general public, avoid going out for the time being and avoid contact with suspicious people. The data obtained so far shows that the bitten person will be assimilated within 10 minutes at the latest. Please believe in the government and the country. Please don't spread rumors on the internet and cause panic. Temporarily, a blockade policy has been implemented for City A. The transportation methods such as trains, high-speed rails, and airplanes from City A to other places have been cancelled. The trains or high speed rails passing through City A have also been cancelled. It is prohibited to pass through City A in any form. Once discovered, criminal liability will be imposed. I opened a pack of spicy strips and ate while looking at the policies. I was proud of the country's prompt handling. This was the country I loved and the place where I grew up, but I remembered that in the past life, it was not only City A. Had the situation changed, or was it actually a different world? If so, I hoped that these stockpiled supplies would not be of much use. There was nothing more important than living safely. I would rather rent a house with my parents than be trapped in this house for a lifetime. A free life was the most important thing for us. An hour later, the official issued another notice. The country is building a new wall around City A. It has been temporarily blocked with iron nets and iron gates. Currently, the construction of the isolation wall is underway. People in City A, don't panic. This is only to avoid unnecessary transmission for the time being. If there are people who have come to other cities from City A in the past 7 days, please report to the local government in a timely manner. Once it is found that someone has not reported, criminal liability will also be imposed. A reward of 1,000 yuan will be given to the people who report or take the initiative to report. This is to minimize the harm. The country has started to build an isolation wall around City A and is recruiting workers with high enough salaries. Seeing this, people everywhere feel much more at ease, at least for now, except for City A. There are no such cases in other provinces and cities. Those who escaped from City A that night have been quarantined. The quarantine rooms are all stocked with instant foods such as instant noodles. Because this incident will cause harm to others, they must be placed in windowless rooms to avoid their infection and subsequent biting of other people. Someone uploaded a video, which quickly became a hot search topic. It was a video taken by a camera. A family of 3, father, mother, and a child, were originally having a meal near the hospital. They should have taken a family member to the hospital to see a doctor and then went to have a meal. Suddenly, a zombie rushed into the store and bit another man. It bit the man's carotid artery in one bite. The blood spurted directly onto the ground. Everyone in the store saw this scene and quickly ran away. The man also pulled his wife and child and ran out. But there were also zombies outside. He was about to get into the car with his wife and child when a zombie bit his arm. While he was still conscious, he closed the car door and loudly told his wife to take the child and leave. He himself became a zombie, and his wife left with tears in her eyes. The comments below the video were all moved by this man. This father is so great. But his child and wife watched him turn into a zombie with their own eyes. It's so sad, one comment said. So there are really people who can sacrifice themselves for their loved ones. Another comment said, the Information Department of City A issued a notice. Currently, the community screening is being carried out, and the community-wide lockdown management is being implemented. The outside of each community is being sealed with high-speed rail walls, according to the latest research. Once the zombie virus invades the human body, it cannot be recovered. Please, the general public, ensure the safety of yourself and your loved ones. Once the people around you show signs of mutation or abnormal trends, please call for help as soon as possible, and we will arrange personnel as soon as possible. Since the zombie virus cannot be eliminated once it enters the human body, the infected zombies will be killed. Scientists are conducting research on the relevant vaccines. Please, the general public, do not go out and ensure that you stay at home. Currently, the official has received the demands of the general public and will arrange the handling of food later. Please believe in us. Let's overcome this disaster together. Believe in us and believe in yourselves. We will definitely recover. City A was quickly blocked, and other cities did not give up the screening just because there were no zombies for the time being. The speed of this incident was much faster than that in the past life. I felt as if I was being pushed forward to another ending of the story, but I didn't know whether the ending of the story was good or bad. I had read so many zombie-related novels, but only when I really faced it did I know how terrifying it was. If the situation gets out of control, no matter how many supplies you have, there will be a day when they run out. Outside, the broadcast was still playing on a loop. Please, the general public, stay at home. Once there is a special situation, please report it as soon as possible, and we will send someone to deal with it nearby. Now that there was still the internet, looking at the news on TV, my parents and I had no appetite. We just drank some porridge. There were more and more zombies outside. Seeing more and more people being pulled into the zombie horde, I felt as if the pain from my past life was coming back to my body. We lay on the mat laid in the living room to rest, although it was said to be rest. We closed the full coverage blackout curtains. My parents and I all started to sigh. We were in such a situation now, which was what I got by being reborn. If I hadn't been reborn, our family would have died. I discussed with my parents about taking turns to stand guard. Although there were protective devices, the current situation was still uncertain. Every decision now would affect the subsequent development. If we don't observe the situation outside at this time, we won't be able to face more unknown changes in the future. Now there are more and more zombies, and the police can only snipe from a long distance. There is still no solution to completely eliminate them. In the comments, there are people asking for help and people selling supplies at high prices. Suddenly, a hot search topic appeared. There was a stray dog biting incident in City B. The bitten person showed the same symptoms as those in City A. It seems that not only people to people transmission is possible, but also other organisms may be involved. Suddenly, there were a lot of videos and comments that caused panic. Many people suddenly started to spread this video, and everyone began to panic about animals and everything else. But why did this virus appear in City B? City B is not adjacent to City A. Now not only City A has started to panic, but people all over the world have started to frantically hoard supplies. In less than half a day, this situation has occurred in more than a dozen countries one after another. There must be someone manipulating this behind the scenes to cause such crazy spread. A large number of people posted comments on Facebook and Jihu. It was tentatively determined that the cause was an ancient virus. Currently, there is no solution. The research experts from various countries are having a meeting to discuss. They are all still in the research stage. In order not to cause panic, this conclusion has not been announced. When people see these comments and the video, they will more or less have some associations. There has not been a very clear conclusion, but the experiment definitely cannot be done all of a sudden. It needs to be rigorous and responsible to every citizen, rather than simply giving a conclusion. The laboratory is still conducting experiments non-stop, comparing and changing variables and weights. Now the internet has exploded because of this. The official has issued a statement that there is currently no experimental evidence to prove this claim. It is hoped that the general public can calm down. The state of mind is very important at this time. There are quite a few marketing accounts that have been spreading rumors in the afternoon, causing panic. The official has issued warnings and blocked some of them. The video has been constantly emphasizing and reminding the general public, please avoid being bitten by other creatures, close the windows, and put pets in cages to prevent infection. Currently, everyone has gone crazy for supplies. After all, nothing is more important than surviving. There is still no solution found for this virus for the time being. If a solution can't be found, we'll have to keep struggling. If there are not enough resources, there is no choice but to wait for death. Some people who like to push the limits actually started live streaming on the road, showing everyone the situation of zombies on the road. Suddenly, Facebook crashed. There was a case of armed robbery in Country M, and this video caused another round of popularity on Facebook. Everyone is still stockpiling supplies on their own. After all, if something unexpected happens, at least they will feel more secure. Our family had mapo tofu, stir-fried Chinese cabbage with pork, stir-fried tomatoes with eggs for dinner, and rice as the staple food. I drank a glass of Coke and couldn't help sighing. This is so refreshing. At this moment, I received another call from Xander. Baby, I was wrong last time. Baby, can you send us some food? We really have nothing to eat, but I do have food. I hung up after saying that. I thought for a while and took a photo of a self-heating hot pot. I sent a message to Xander. For the sake of the fact that I once loved you, I can give you something to eat, but it's only enough for one person. Come and get it, okay? Send me the address. He replied to me quickly. I know he doesn't believe me, but now he has no other choice. I sent the location of a place nearby where there were the most zombies and where I could control the situation, taking advantage of the night. I controlled a drone and tied a mobile phone to it. I turned the alarm volume to the maximum and flew the drone to the agreed location with Xander. Looking at the increasing number of zombies outside, I knew that if they came out at this time, it would be a dead end. I knew that just a self-heating hot pot couldn't make him believe me, so I took a photo of a bag of rice. After finishing the meal and cleaning up, I opened Facebook to check the current situation. Now all parts of the world have fallen. Currently, it is found that our country is not the first case. someone uploaded a video online where someone threw their pet from a high-rise building. This was because they were afraid that their pet had the virus. Soon everyone started to criticize this behavior. Since there is no rigorous and reasonable statement given by relevant personnel currently, everyone is definitely afraid that pets may have the virus. It's just that it's really hard to understand how someone could do that to a pet that has been by their side all the time. At the same time, someone submitted contributions to big bloggers, some staff members, taking advantage of their positions, took away pets and tortured and killed them. Everyone was very angry and hoped that this could be dealt with, although it's not certain at present whether they can also be hosts of the virus. But they are all lives, and every life has the right to live. In my previous life, I didn't seem to see things developing in this direction. It's also possible that I died too early to see it. There are more and more disputes on the internet, and the degree of panic is also increasing. A week has passed, and the disputes on the internet have been growing exponentially. The official issued a statement. Currently, it can be determined that only blood can spread the virus, and this spread only occurs between people. The relevant department issued a statement that the relevant technicians are conducting research. Please don't make malicious speculations. Sure enough, the country has never given up on us. As a member of this country, I really feel very happy. At this moment, through the surveillance, I saw Xander driving a dilapidated car. There were a lot of bloodstains on that car. Seeing that there was no movement around, he sent me a message. I replied that I didn't see him, only the car. I told him the route, and then he got out of the car and made some gestures towards the car. The timing was just right. As soon as he walked 10 meters away, the alarm clock rang. Immediately, the zombies heard the sound and rushed towards that direction. Xander quickly got back into the car, but the car started very slowly. Thinking that in my previous life, he directly threw me into the horde of zombies. Unable to move forward, he actually pushed Cora out of the passenger seat. Cora became what I was in my previous life and was bitten by the zombies. Soon he also turned into a zombie, but she seemed different from ordinary zombies. Her consciousness was very obvious. The zombies would be attracted by the vibration of the mobile phone alarm clock again, but Cora wouldn't. That mobile phone was quickly trampled to pieces by the horde of zombies. The direction Cora was heading in was very strange. It seemed that she was getting closer and closer to our home. The gate downstairs in the community had been closed for a long time, so the building we were in had never been attacked by zombies. I saw a call from Xander on my phone. I didn't answer, and he started bombarding me on Instagram. Damn it, it was you who placed the phone there. Damn it, answer the phone. Damn it, I survived. You wait, I'll get you later. But at this moment, Cora had already arrived at our community. She didn't seem to be an ordinary zombie. I had an ominous premonition that she was coming for me. After sending the drone out yesterday, I locked the rooftop from the inside. After a few minutes, I seemed to hear a strange sound. Sure enough, it was Cora. I turned on the power switch, and the protective railing was electrified. She fell heavily to the ground, and everyone's attention was drawn. Cora left the current community and moved towards the direction of our previous community. Many videos appeared on Facebook. Another family planned to leave by car, but unexpectedly, they were bitten by a zombie in the corner and turned into zombies. I saw a video on Facebook, which was from the area where our previous home was. Xander came downstairs to buy things. As soon as he opened the car door, Cora suddenly rushed out and bit Xander. Xander tried his best to dodge, but his arm was still bitten. Xander used a knife to dig out the bitten piece of meat. Xander was about to hide in the car, but Cora directly smashed the car window and bit Xander's flesh. Xander's face was almost unrecognizable after being bitten by Cora. Maybe it was because Cora used too much force to smash the car window just now, or for some other reason. The car started to leak gasoline. I don't know who threw a burning stick in that direction, and the car exploded. Xander and Cora were directly blown up in that explosion. A month has passed. We have eaten some of the food, and recently the weather has started to become abnormal. Suddenly, there was a strong light, and I returned to my body again. Everything was going backward. The situation is getting worse and worse. Recently, there are news reports that in some places, zombie tides have started to break out, causing serious damage, and more people have lost their lives. The weather is overcast, just like what I see as my own future at this moment. It rained heavily for 3 consecutive days. The zombies not only started to harm living things but also began to attack buildings. The cables have been damaged, and electricity can't be supplied to many places, coupled with the problems of the natural weather, the lives of many people have already started to change greatly. Looking at the supplies that are decreasing every day and the increasingly severe situation, my worries are increasing day by day. The relevant researchers expressed their opinions on the official platform. Currently, we are doing our best to build safe houses, to resist the current harsh environment, and also to remind everyone to keep a calm mind. Given time, everyone will definitely regain their freedom. It took 1.5 months to build the safe house, and the food is getting less and less. Lying in the safe house, half of my hanging heart finally settled down. Countries have discussed and decided to use the method of bombing to deal with these zombies. These bombs are made of special materials. Finally, after a long wait of 1 year, I once again set foot on the journey home.